All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am more tired than I was yesterday. So, we just missed out on Dr. Dawn. First off, welcome to J Sports. My name is Jay Stone, I'm your host. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Press the post notification bell so you never miss another one of these videos. I am exhausted from yesterday. So, as you could tell, I'm going to be yawning. Um, Yesterday the trial was live on this channel, so I'm gonna be hopefully a little more confident today. I have not received an answer to my appeal from YouTube, so it goes. So for now, we're just gonna film on here and hope for the best. Dr. Don Hughes. So I know that I didn't get to show it on either channel, but essentially it was Amber Heard's supposed ex psychologist. I'm sorry. And she sounds so they moved on to an image guy. And I guess they had an hour and 16 minutes left on Amber Heard's side. So I think what Johnny Depp's team is doing is fine. You guys can have the morning, we'll have the afternoon. So Dr. Don Hughes comes because, as you remember yesterday, she was rebutted by Dr. Curry, Dr. Shannon Curry. Well, that happened, and Dr. Don Hughes sounded as though she was pissed the F off. Like, no, you know what? She didn't say this. I did this correctly. No, I did that. And she was yelling at the jury. She sounded like she got her ego busted because she was actually proven to have her own testimony struck from most of the records in other cases, because all she does is try and be a part of these high profile cases, and it doesn't help her credibility. So, she was yelling at the jury. And I don't know, basically the way she was talking, she was yelling at the jury. Right now, we're going to go to a expert who, I've already shared it here, but we're going to go to this expert here. And it's about the images. Now, remember how yesterday they had a guy come in and he said, yes, they edited the images. They put it through a photo editor. The dates would look like this. Basically, you're right. They messed with those images, and they should never have messed with those images. They did it so they could lie, cheat, and get their way. And now they have so I'm talking about Amber Heard's team, right? Not Depp's. Now Amber Heard's team has an image guy. And he's basically just proving that the photos were edited. Not very good for them. So let me play this.
No,
let me get us to the live broadcast.
Still need to use clinical interviewing skills, which I used.
Let me finish my question.
We're actually on Dr. Don Hughes, so listen to how she talks, because this is crazy good.
Jennison didn't come in hot, so if she starts getting hot with him, it's going to get...
It does say that, yes.
Yes, and you made your diagnosis before you did the CAPS-5.
I made my diagnosis doing clinical
Jennison
interviewing
needs to
and
hold
11 other
her
psychological
to
tests
the yes/no
that
answers
supported diagnosis
and
of
make them
PTSD and symptomatology consistent with
redirect.
PTSD.
He needs to make them fix it and redirect. He needs to hold her tighter because they don't have time.
That we need to read the directions on these tests.
Sure.
Okay.
Always,
Tom,
always no name calling.
1309 as a demonstrative.
Oh, some of this stuff is round and round and round. So yes, I will give commentary over it because some of this stuff is round and round and round and round. This is the last day of witness testimony. Tomorrow is closing. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did you hear that? Yes, sir. You may approach. So it looks like they're bringing up another
The
demonstrative.
objection of 1309 is a demonstrative. May we approach? Okay.
Great. Yes, we can talk about what Dr. Hughes is saying, but we're not going to name call and besmirch, just like we do with anyone in the chat. It gets harder when we don't like people. Trust me, it is hard when we talk about James Spears, but we still manage. That's what we do. All right, let's see. Lilani said, if it is the same photo through all of the devices, then wouldn't it still be the same file size?
9 and publish the jury as demonstrative.
One would think. But he was giving the
Doctor,
example of
do you
emailing, but that's not what came up.
Recognize the demonstrative that's in front of you?
Yes, but I didn't put the red lines on that.
No, I didn't.
That's
Yes, I
fair.
know.
Okay.
That's fair for her
Um,
to say that's not
So
mine.
this, what do you recognize this as?
I
User error.
recognize that we previously discussed this, and I told you that I oriented Ms.
That's
Bird to a
not
different time frame because she was
non-
already out of the relationship.
Non-responsive.
Okay,
Oriented to a
maybe we
different
should
time
back
frame.
up a little.
Non-responsive.
This is the CTS-2 that you administered as part of this battery of tests that you indicate you did in relationship to your diagnosis.
Right, this is the conflict tactic scale too.
All right. And you'll agree with me that this test specifically asks, in front of every single question,
Oh yeah, he's gonna
how
wanna walk right
often
into being
did this
combative.
happened in the past year?
Correct, and I
Right,
oriented
and
the
you know-
individual to not limit herself to the
Correct.
last year to get an accurate assessment of the violence and abuse that
Dennison,
she
cut her
experienced in the
off.
relationship.
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
Yep.
All right.
Cut
Move
her
strike the
off.
last part of the answer. Strike the last part of the answer. Thank you.
Cut her off,
Next
Dennison.
question.
Yeah, and you know that at the time that you gave this test to Ms. Hurd, she had been away from Mr. Depp for far longer than a year, correct?
Which is why I oriented her to a different
Yes or no,
time
ma'am?
frame in answering the
Doctor,
questions.
yes or no?
So, of course,
Okay, you knew she was gone for more than a year.
of course.
All right, let's look at another one of these.
That is powerful testimony, but I think it's gonna be lost in the circling. That scale is not meant to be used to
You talked
orient
about
to
the
a different
danger
time.
assessment test.
That's
It's
correct.
within the last year. He needs to rein this witness in and make them fix it all on redirect. They don't have time, Dennison. You've got 7 hours. Do not. This is the witness that the jury is not going to love. So you
13,
are
plaintiffs
able
1310.
to hold her feet to the fire.
Thank you.
Just do it.
Any objection to 1310 as a demonstrative? Okay.
Reminding the jury that
You publish the
this
jury.
test was oriented to a different time is weird.
Dr. Hughes,
Blurry AF.
this is a blank form, but this is the danger assessment test that you also gave to Ms. Hurd,
Let's
correct?
just walk through it.
I didn't give it to her, I filled it out based on the data that was provided to me.
Oh, so you asked her the questions and then you filled it in.
It was somewhat collaborative.
Okay.
What do you mean collaborative?
Blow up
What do you
the
mean-
second
whoa, whoa,
full
whoa, whoa.
paragraph.
What do you mean by collaborative? Y'all did it together?
Says, using the calendar, please mark the approximate dates during the past year when you were abused by your partner or
She gave these in
ex-partner.
like 2019.
You didn't use any calendar, did you?
I did not use a calendar because she was already out of the relationship. As I said, these are static risk factors, so they don't change. So I
But these
orient her to
exams-
the time of the relationship.
Ma'am, it's fair to say that this examination that you gave specifically indicates that that you were supposed to look over the past year. And
That's
not the
one,
language?
no, that's one administration. People use this instrument for if you're in an acute situation in a relationship, trying to get a better assessment of the current behaviors. We can use it retrospectively, like I just stated, and in homicides and looking back about what are the serious risk factors that were in this
I
relationship.
didn't ask you about anything other than, don't the instructions limit this test to the previous year?
You
So
can
there
do
are
this test not only
So
on-
many
No,
things
ask
that
me
he's
about
not
the
asking her.
instructions.
But I'm telling you how the test is administered in clinical practice and in forensic practice.
And
Cut her off, dude.
You can come up and ask questions about it. I'm asking you
Cut
about
her
the
off.
instructions. And the instructions say, look over the past year.
Yeah, on this, yes, that it says that.
And you had actual knowledge when you gave the test
Little visitors.
that Mr. Depp was gone
it's
way
the
more
first
than a
day of
year
summer.
before this test.
That is correct.
Right. All right, let's look at more instructions.
What he's trying to do here
Proposal
is
7, which is already
prove,
This
discredit
is going back
her.
to Dr. Curry saying she didn't follow the instructions.
Exactly.
She did not understand the assignment. And he is pointing out, this was the assignment. What did you do? This was the assignment. What did you do? She filled
Dr.
it out for
Hughes,
Amber. And that's
recognize
what
this one too,
Dr.
right?
Curry
Yes.
said.
All right, this is the,
So
Goes to
she
step 5.
said that
Correct.
earlier in the
Can we go to the
testimony.
page?
I originally was
I
not
want to
going to
hear
show
him
this,
say
but
that's not my
I
question.
have to show
My
this.
question's
Let's
more
blow up the
specific.
instructions.
Answer my question.
Yeah, Dennison's too nice here, but he can't come.
Yeah,
he
he lets
has
the
this
witnesses
problem
go a
where he
bit.
comes off
Standard
combative, too
administration
combative.
of scoring of the caps
The
5 are
big
essential
problem
for
is
producing
she's saying, no,
reliable
Dr. Curry's
outdoor
completely wrong. I did
and
everything right, but then she
diagnostic
just said,
Correct?
Correct.
I just filled out this
You know
questionnaire for
you
her.
have to do this
Oh, it
in
was
a
kind of
standardized
collaborative.
way
What do you mean it was
because it
collaborative?
the first
That's what I would have
instruction,
asked.
Correct?
Correct.
Well, I'll get to that at the break.
Can we go to the next page? One more.
These
Oh, wait.
documents are all blurry for me as
That's
well.
great. This is a page on scoring, and we talked about this last time.
So yeah,
You score these tests.
so here are these
by
scores. She scored her
frequency
way too
and
high
intensity.
at times.
Correct.
Dennison does the experts. I don't
And
know
you'll
why.
remember that in every single instance that you were asked to fill in the blank about frequency,
Yeah, my little guy
you
came
failed
in.
to do so, correct?
That's not correct.
Oh,
Oh, it's not?
you filled in
Really?
any blank on this form with respect to frequency?
I filled in the frequency on the side of the caps where I am actually scoring the caps.
No, I
Where
asked you
it's
whether
relevant.
you filled in a single blank on this form with respect to frequency. Is the answer to that yes or no?
I don't know what you mean, a single blank.
All right, let's page down.
Let's look at it.
Let's keep going.
You got
Alright,
to look at
let's-
this. She knows what
we'll
you're
stay with
talking
this page
about.
for a
She
second.
knows she's wrong here, and your
This is
job
the
here,
very
Dennison, is to
first
prove
box you're
her
asked to
wrong.
fill in as to, I think a fairly fundamental question, right? What happened?
We talked about this before, Mr. Dennison. I had 88 pages of notes of what happened. It would have been
That wasn't the
redundant to put
question.
it
That's
there.
not the
You
question.
know that you are obligated to produce this test in a way that other people can meaningfully review them. Yes?
The people in this case who are meaningfully reviewing them have my 88
No,
pages
your
of notes.
board,
Right.
the
But you
psychology
chose
board, the
to
APA
put absolutely
has to
nothing
review it.
in the box, the standardized box that said what happened.
You don't have to put it in the box if you have it somewhere else. It's not a,
Because this
if
is
it's
not
not
a
a,
standardized test?
well, if it's not a research instrument that is used for
What?
research, if you're using
What
it
is she
for a
saying
clinical
here?
diagnostic
I'm
purpose,
lost.
no, you
So I
don't.
can use it
If you
however I
have
wanna
that
use it.
data elsewhere.
Okay, so that's what she said.
Let's go
Basically,
with
she's
So I
saying
can use it.
I can do whatever I
use it
want to
The
do.
way I want to use it.
I don't have
That's
to do
not
it. I don't have
what
to do it
Dr. Curry said.
the mandated way, which is exactly what Dr.
The text
Curry
on these
said.
screens have been blurry. Yep.
That's
absolutely.
exactly what Dr. Curry said. She just did whatever the hell she wanted. She didn't fill out the tests
Yeah,
correctly.
the collaborative is a lot for me.
And I asked you whether you filled in the blank
No.
about
One attorney,
frequency.
one witness.
And there's a blank in many of these items that asks number of times. You didn't fill a single one of them in, did you?
Right, because I filled them on the right side of the instrument
Oops.
where I am scoring it.
And that is the way that you believe that you followed the instructions of a standardized test.
I wouldn't have asked the question that
No
way.
further
Yep.
questions.
She
All
wrote.
right, redirect.
She failed to follow the instructions of a standardized test.
Yep. All right, here goes
I
Elaine.
wonder who. Yeah, it's interesting that that's back. Your mic, Elaine.
Static risk factors are risk factors that don't change. It's maybe, if you smoke cigarettes, you may have a risk of lung cancer, right? That's a factor that doesn't change. You can look forward if someone's smoking, you can look past if someone's smoking. So these lethality risk factors are present whether you're evaluating them in the last year or 5 years ago.
And when you're trying to assess for trauma related to the interpersonal violence that we discussed, Why is it important to get a time frame in which the relationship was in existence?
Well, you want to see the amount of trauma that the person experienced. The longer that they're in a relationship, you have more successive trauma.
But she never
And one of the
experienced
things that we
trauma.
know
Amber
from
Heard,
the
she never
research is more
experienced trauma.
is not better. So the more successive traumas that you
I think we
have,
can all
the
agree
greater
that more
likelihood
trauma
that
is not
somebody's
better.
going to have psychological consequences and
We've all found a point
symptomatology
of
as a
agreement.
result.
And therefore you need to get it within the relationship.
Objection leading.
Yep.
And so how does that relate to needing
What,
to
if
get the
anything, does that
timeframe
relate
in
to?
the relationship?
Well, you need to understand when you're trying to evaluate the impact of something, you want to have to understand what happened to the person. And that's sort of the core and the basis of trauma-informed care and of trauma diagnoses. You
Dr.
have to
Curry said you needed,
understand,
like, multiple tests,
the
though.
traumatic event and how it transpired and how it played
Yeah, you
out for
can't
that
just have one
individual
test.
so
You have
that
to have
can better
multiple,
assess for the
according to
symptomatology
Dr.
that's
Curry's
fallen from it.
testimony.
You said you had 88 pages of notes. What were in your 88? And without going into the specifics, can you just describe what was included in the 88 pages of notes?
In the 88 pages were
This doesn't
many
matter
of the
here.
documented incidents of intimate partner
Objection, Your
violence.
Honor.
She's just describing it. That came up. He said you didn't fill those in the boxes. She said it was in my 88 pages. I'm just saying what was in your 88 pages.
Oh my God.
I
I'm
just
not
love that
asking her to
Elaine
give
is
each of the
arguing here.
specific events. She can describe the summary of it.
Elaine, Judge
Can we
A.
come up?
Okay.
Oh, Judge A. That
That's
this
inappropriate right
judge
there.
doesn't generally do speaking objections. That is a speaking objection where Elaine's like, but this and this and this and this and this, Your Honor. And he's like, no. But it's appropriate to say what we're not going to do is reiterate this. It's, let's get, yeah, stop testifying, Elaine. Exactly. It's just, the judge
What
probably
is
told
the
her to move
difference
on.
between
And she did.
And she
clinical
did.
on.
The
scoring
judge was
and
like,
clinical
"Shut up.
evaluation and
Move the
research
F on."
evaluation with
I'm
respect
not
to the CAPS file
cursing
and the other
here
tests?
as much because it's the
When
sports
you-
channel.
Compound.
Sustained.
Well, now Dennison is showing some control.
There you go. Get some control,
Your Honor,
Dennison.
when
Because
it's
before he
compounded,
was just
because
letting
it
this
might be
happen.
confusing to the jury.
No, Elaine.
Go, move on. Don't
Can you
argue.
explain to the jury what the difference is between clinical scoring and evaluation on a test and research?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound.
That-
Overruled, go.
No. it's
Sure, so
between.
the PCL and the CAPS-5 are frequently used in research. And when they're used in research, that means the document stands alone. They don't have 88 pages of notes to help understand the background of the trauma and what the
We're at
person has
180
experienced.
now.
And why those boxes may be relevant in research is because, back in the day when I was a research assistant, I had to input that into the computer. And then they would maybe look at some of that data for the research study. So that becomes very important.
I feel like
All right, thank you, I have no further questions.
No, Elaine did not
People are being
mansplain
lectured.
to the
You can stay in the
judge.
courtroom or you're free to go, okay?
Elaine
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and
explains.
take our afternoon recess.
What?
I mean, sorry, our morning
What?
recess.
What?
I'll just
She
take a
Elaine
15-minute
explains.
recess. Do not discuss the
Ooh,
case with
something's
anybody
happening.
and don't do any outside research, okay?
What's happening? All right, I hope they'll put it on the record. Huh. I'm curious. I think we might have a scheduling issue.
oh.
Let's see what the judge.
This is
has
the
to
last
say.
day
Actually, I'm gonna go
of
back to
testimony
court,
for
and
either
then we'll
side.
do,
So
if
what
they run
I'm
out of
also
time
curious
before
about
they are
All
finished,
right, why don't we just come back at 11:05
is
then? All right, excellent.
normal break. If they run out of time
what I'm
before
curious about
they are
is
finished, the judge has said she will cut them off in the middle of a sentence.
how is Johnny Depp gonna use his
That's
time?
what she said. It's Elaine tries to reset. I don't mind the reset. Sometimes it's very hard to do it in real time. I glitch resetting sometimes in real time. It's hard, but the
It's
arguing
possible.
back to the judge is what very much puts me off. It's like, but Your Honor, it's only compound if it's this. The judge already said sustained, Elaine, and if the judge said sustained, then it's sustained. And
Yeah, even, like, I get
pinnacle of
Elaine
the
because
Elaine
you wanna
splaining for
argue.
me is when
That's
she
how
does
I
shit
am.
like,
But
Your
I
Honor,
also
don't think
know
it's-
that doesn't
I
make
don't
me
think
look
it's
good.
hearsay. It's like,
This
your
trial has taught
opinion
me a
doesn't
lot.
matter. The judge ruled. Give a legal grounds or move on. So, with that, we're just going to do a quick check-in because Y'all, we're almost at 540 on that road to 550. Thank you so much to the 180,000 of you in
We
here.
are at
If you would like to
22
go ahead and do the
subscribers
subscribing things,
here
I
on J
would
Sports.
appreciate it.
She
Heather Blue
is
says,
a
"I
much
hate
better
seeing
and
lawyers
bigger
fight with
channel,
the judge." I
bigger
do
and better.
too. Judge A has
She
been
covers
very,
trials and she's
very patient
awesome.
with the Elaine-splaining, I
But
think she could shut it down a
please
lot
like,
more.
comment, share,
Let's
and
get to some more
subscribe
of
to
your
this
questions. We've got
channel.
about 15 minutes for a break, so I'm gonna try to.
If you
like,
want,
zoom,
go ahead
zoom.
and
We're
subscribe to
gonna
get the
do a
memo
real
as well.
speed
We
run
cover
through
things
it.
that we will now start covering
My
things
little
like
one who
this.
came in a little bit
We
earlier
cover
was
big events
talking
like this
about
all
the
the time.
drama with
We
Dream's
should,
speed run.
and we
He's
will.
just discovered
And we
that portion
also cover
of-
things like
of
politics,
YouTube
the
is
corruption of
whether
the
there was a
Democratic
speed run or not.
Party.
It's very fun listening to him try
We
to
cover a
explain
lot
it
of
to me.
things. So
Is court still dark
we also
Friday?
have a
No.
podcast.
Closing arguments are
Anywhere
Friday.
that you get your
Closing
podcast,
arguments
get the
are
memo is the
tomorrow.
podcast. Go ahead and check it out.
Peyton said I have PTSD from medical abuse. I'm sorry to hear
I
that.
just got
Peyton.
an idea
Cry
for my
whenever I think
podcast
about it. I
for
couldn't sit through a trial.
if I
And
did a
think
sports
that's
podcast,
part
but I
of what
don't know
Dr.
that I
Curry
want to
was
manage
getting to.
two.
Dr. Curry was talking about the kind of the most severe
But yeah,
PTSD, but
like
was
and
also talking
subscribe,
about where
please.
Heard scored on those scales, saying, or at least that was my understanding. I will go back and watch the testimony. So thank you guys. We're gonna pass that in just a second. If she doesn't write it on the form and she has such a heavy reliance on notes, how do we know she didn't miss things in her notes? I think that's why the forms have rules. Like, not a doctor, but I think that's why the forms have rules and like procedures. So they're like standardized in some way. Like, so if you're not using it as a diagnostic, why are you using it as the basis of your diagnosis? Sister Babylon. Exactly.
That's
Why?
the point.
I wish you would have asked that. You
See,
should have fed a post-it to Dennison
You are
to say
trying
that.
to
I asked
diagnose.
yesterday about the judge
Why are you
reading
not
when
using
questions
it
are
for
not
a
appropriate.
diagnosis?
Why does the judge ask if there were any objections? Isn't that the attorney's responsibility? Will Bender, this is a fantastic question. The judge asks if there are any objections to the exhibits. That's the proper procedure. I'm offering this exhibit. I want to mark it as this for evidence. So I've got an exhibit. Do I need demonstratives? Yes, I have an exhibit. Your Honor, I'd like to mark this exhibit 1. And then it would be any objections. Objections? No. Can it be admitted into evidence? And then you can admit it into evidence without any objections, and then you can publish it to the jury. So in the context of admitting evidence, that is why the judge asks any objections. In the context of questioning a witness, it is the lawyer's job to say objection or to stand, depending on the jurisdiction. That would have made me bananas if I had to stand up I would be so distracted if I had to stand up every time I had to object. We didn't do standing objections, but if you have to stand, hit the button, and object, it can be a lot going on. We've seen Elaine miss the button quite a lot. But
Oh, yeah.
that
And the
is-
microphone.
that is
She's
why.
missed it.
It's when you're admitting evidence only. That's the proper time to object. You wait for the judge to ask for it.
So this is
Is that
exactly
Daria?
why I shut
love
up.
Daria, Cyan.
So
I hope I
that,
pronounced that correct. Just wanted
you
to
know,
say thank you for
you
your
know,
fair and
I-
educated
she
analysis
can
on the
answer
case.
the
I try to be fair.
questions.
Your humor and vibes are immaculate. Thank you. I try to be fair, and I will try to tell you if I just don't like someone. Like with Dr. Hughes, she put me off in her original testimony. It makes it harder to say what are the good points and what are the not good points. She did a pretty good job on her direct, but again, it's hard to listen to because she's like, as I told you, as I said, and that is very off-putting.
Yeah,
Rachel said I'm
I
a
don't
little
know. It
behind, but
makes
am
you feel
pissed that
like
Dr.
you're
Hughes called
stupid,
Dr. Curry Shannon
and
Curry
the jury
without
does
the
not want to
doctor,
feel that way.
when she said she was here for rebuttal, it was disrespectful. I don't know if the jury will pick up on the disrespect, but we sure did. So thank you guys. Are judges and attorneys ever friends outside of court? Yes. I wonder if Elaine feels like she can argue with Judge A. I lost it. Where did it go? Oh, I wonder if Elaine feels like she can argue with Judge A because they are friends. No. If they are close friends, I would imagine that it might be an issue having them on the same case. It could potentially be a conflict. But yes, judges and attorneys are friends because essentially judges are attorneys that have taken a different career path and taken the bench or have been appointed to the bench or elected. But you appearing before someone that you have a close personal relationship might be a conflict, though it can be waived. But you just wouldn't do that. I think because the judge has let it go, Elaine has let it go. And I think the judge has the interest of getting this trial done and not nitpicking Elaine on every little thing. But also, I wonder if this judge is patient kind of as a rule. Question from Bellaboo. Rob Morton commented on the jury demographics yesterday, age range, sex, ethnicity, and discussed their body language during Amber Heard's testimony. Is this okay? He was in the court, so it's proper to say this is what I've noticed. This is what other media outlets are reporting. Court is kind of a sacred space, so doing things that can impact the jury or visible to the jury, like I had somebody come into shirt in like into court in a like snitches shirt, and that was yeeted immediately because it was like, are you trying to intimidate a witness? Are you trying to intimidate a jury? Whatever. But so displays in court can be a problem because they're in the view of the jury, but analyzing the jury and what we're seeing from the jury, it doesn't go out.
So I'm gonna just review this. So I have got some fun links that we can how should I put this? That we can look at. We're gonna look at them at the break because I think like for example, I want to show you how Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are treated. Just a couple videos there. I also want to play. I also want to play the clapback that Elaine got. Elaine Bredehoft, the attorney for Amber Heard, the stupid bullcrap attorney. Pretty dumbass shit, you know? Things like that. I am not using the language I would normally use on my political channel because this is not the channel for that. But I might use it, and it's just because I'm animated and it's in real time. I don't have time to edit it. That happens on the live streams with the sports too. It's like I get so animated, Duncan gets animated, and we're just like cursing up a storm. But you know what? It's fine. For me, what I will say is this. And so I want to show you the clapback that Elaine got because from the TMZ guy, not ESPN. The TMZ guy. Morgan Tremaine gave her because she said, "Oh, you're here for your 15 minutes of fame," and he's like, "Well, I could say the same thing about you, bitch. Like, I could say like you were here for your 15 minutes of fame. You're representing Amber Heard. If she loses, I probably wouldn't mention that, but even if she wins, I wouldn't mention that. Knock on wood. Let's hope Johnny wins. Hashtag justice for Johnny Depp." So I do want to show you those couple things and any other links that I can find that can buy us time during the lunch break. No, I won't be breaking up the stream, meaning ending this one and then doing another one. I think that's just too much work for me. I would just leave it and we'll see what it does, how it goes. We are on recess until 8:05 our time on the Pacific. Was it 10:05 Eastern and 11:05? I'm sorry, 10:05 Central and 11:05 Eastern, which is what really matters because that's the time that the court gets back. So, if you have any questions in the chat, please go ahead and ask them. I will answer them as best I can. I have known a lot about this case, so you guys can ask me. I can also look it up, but moreover, most times I will know the answer. I'm sorry that I sound a little down. It is the morning here, so yeah.
If I was in the juror's seat, a lot of information would be lost. Yes. It's why they take notes. It's why there's multiples of them, but it's why they take notes. Just saw a tweet that said, so students don't need to actually take standardized testing. Just turn in your notes from the year with a blank test. It's all good. Yes. See, I notes. This case is so close to my own life because I was accused on social media by a woman and lost my 14-year military career, but represented my court myself in federal court 3 times and won all 3 for defamation. Oscar, I'm sure you are riveted by this case. I am sorry for that experience. This is why defamation cases exist, because it can be reputationally damaging, and that has real world impacts. Question: how much weight does the closing argument have on the jury's decision based on my past trials? Some juries found it very helpful, some didn't. So it really just depends on the jury, and it depends on the closing. The thing I liked using closing for was trying to show the jury instructions, how to use the jury instructions, and help the jury understand how to do what they have to do. They're like, okay, go in a room and decide. And it's like, how do we do that? So trying to give them a way to do it, and then trying to not just give them a way to do it, but also give them what facts support it. So we should see hopefully we should see a thorough walkthrough. So what else? Can a criminal trial have a time limit? I've never seen that, Kid Carson. I think it would be very, very difficult, particularly when it comes to the defense, to limit their time, as it's their constitutional right. I've seen courts ask for time estimates and then get very feisty if they're going over the time estimate and it's cumulative. But I've not seen in a criminal trial a judge shut it down. I think you would have very large constitutional issues. I don't think you could shut down a defense attorney in a criminal trial without creating a huge issue for appeal and a mistrial, because so much is on the line. I also don't think you could limit the prosecutor and not limit the defense. So if there is a jurisdiction that does that, I would be fascinated as to how they make it work. But judges do get sassy when you get to a time estimate. If it's getting cumulative, they will start being like, this is cumulative and we're moving on. So I have not seen that. Time estimates, yes. Time limits, no. And again, constitutional rights. When you're taking away someone's liberty and their freedom, and potentially sending them to prison for the rest of their life, potentially more severe consequences, I just don't see how you could tenably do that. Everyone has the right to a trial. So in criminal, you've got this constitutional protected. In civil, if they are going to have that much time, they could always choose to have a bench trial. I mean, suppose in criminal you could too, but it's a bit different. From my perspective, Apathetic Ape, I'd love to see you and Asmon Gold discuss this case afterwards and hear a lawyer and a layman share their thoughts. That would be fantastic. I'm always down to have a chat. I have not watched other coverage of this trial because we've been doing this for like 10 plus hours a day, and then trying to do the things I have to do at the end of the day, and then sleeping. Can you give an example of an objectionable leading question versus an acceptable non-leading question? Lauren, on the spot, an objectionable leading question would be all of the questions you heard on cross. Isn't it true that this is not the same to photos? Isn't it true this is you you had time to hide the gun, didn't you, Chutney? Leading. Very leading. Versus, did you have a gun? Did you do anything with it? So, open-ended questions versus closed questions that call for a yes or no answer, and subsume the answer into it. Question: what are non-binary attorneys allowed to wear in court in the U.S. from the Philippines? And I haven't seen, heard, or come across any. As far as I know, dress code is crucial here. Riza, I have not. I have worked with trans attorneys. I have not worked with attorneys that I know to be non-binary. I would imagine that they could dress how they feel comfortable and appropriate, but I would imagine that could also vary by jurisdiction. I worked in California, where juries' mindset can be different, public perception can be different, but I think most attorneys, and I would encourage you to ask an attorney who is non-binary, most attorneys would want to do what presents best for them and for their case, and would probably choose to present however they feel that is. But I don't know if there are dress codes. And different judges get cranky. I had judges that got cranky with me for wearing pants. Things have changed since the early 2000s, and glad for it. But I don't know. I don't know. How will we get to the jury's How will we get the jury's verdict? Will it be televised? If it's not televised, I will literally lose my mind. It will feel like we have gotten to the very last few minutes of the movie when you get the big reveal and then like the power goes out. I can't imagine not having it televised. It should be. I haven't seen anything that says it won't be, but oh my God. Let's not put that out into the universe. Should Cross have asked if there are any formal instructions for how Dr. Hughes administered the test? I think they got into the rules of the test because they went through on Cross, and this might have been, oh no, this was just from a few minutes ago. They went through the form rules at the top. So I think they covered it. Whether the jury absorbed anything today, they're probably so over it. I don't know. They might just be so over it. Why is Amber's team allowed to have a full rebuttal? I thought it was just for her to prove her counterclaim. So in the, she has a rebuttal because she has a counterclaim. In the closing, her rebuttal in the closing just goes to the counterclaim. So the judge has narrowed that, but did not narrow this. So everybody got a rebuttal. So that's the difference between a rebuttal witness and closing. Can lawyers use video testimony from this trial in closing remarks? I don't know if the judge will allow that. It would be up to the judge. Generally, you get them using transcripts, but because generally video is not available. Video is available here. I don't know what the judge would do. I don't know what the attorneys would do. I would want to use their words, and I would want the jury to hear my take on those words. And I think they'll use the audio from bits of evidence, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll ask the judge. Maybe we'll see it if they do. Thank you for being an amazing law professor. I don't know if I'm a law professor, but I definitely try to break it down at least so we can all understand. If the jury comes back with a verdict and the judge doesn't agree, can the judge overrule the jury? The problem is this is a not simple answer to what should be a fairly simple question. It very much depends. It is very, 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 very rare that a judge would turn over a verdict. That means a judgment notwithstanding a verdict. It is very appealable when they do. Can it happen in rare circumstances? Yes. Is that likely at all in this case? No. The judge denied both the motions to dismiss. They found enough evidence for the jury to make the decision. It would only be if the jury did something very, very wonky, like contradictory counts. Like you can't find count one and count two and count three. They contradict each other. They're alternative theories. And the jury finds like all three. It's like legally you cannot find all three. That does not legally follow. Then you can get it there. So question, do you think Camille can split into two? I feel like it'd be more impactful. We need 7 Camilles. New ADHD diagnosed and only okay with my quirks to say, fuck judgy people, registered as a psych. Seeing you excel with quirks has been amazing. Thank you. It's a lot of why I do what I do. And
I'm also going to be reacting on this channel. I might do that like at the start of break actually. No. I'll do the little videos I want to show you before then. I think his name is Steve Kerr, NBA coach, got mad and reacted to the Texas school shooting. And, you know, I know that this is kind of political. I will keep it as less political as possible. But that's another thing that I want to do today is I want to kind of go over that just a little bit. I'm not saying that I'm going to cry, but I might cry, okay? Now, again, another thing that I missed, yes, and I remembered it on Tuesday. Yesterday was the anniversary of George Floyd being killed by Derek Chauvin, and last year, Derek Chauvin was convicted and sentenced to 22 and a half years and in prison, and then he was given a federal sentence of, I think, 25 years. So, thank goodness, but rest in peace, George Floyd. We love you. Rest in peace to the kids in Texas, 9 and 10-year-olds. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to do it. Ooh, okay. Oh, it hits close to home just because I have a baby sister. So, and now a baby niece. So, you know, like I don't want to imagine it, but unfortunately in this country, that's probably what you got to do. And we've had 27 school shootings already. So Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, but I will be going over it for sure.
he was there for. And when they were arguing about this is outside the disclosure, that's what gives me that. The disclosure to the court saying, this is the expert, this is what they're going to likely testify about. This is kind of their education background, and this is the context. So having him testify about IPV seemed to be ad hoc. And with that, I'm wondering why they used him to undercut
All right, are we ready for the jury?
Dr. Hughes
Yes, sure.
or try to support Dr. Hughes, and then why bring him back in, or why bring her back in? It just seems so odd. I don't know if they're time checking or what, but they're doing something. Thank you all again. Thank you. Stacy said, can you shout out my girlfriend, Jenna? Shout out Jenna. We are huge fans and chronic replay crewers, and I'm excited to be watching live today. Love replay crew. They're
Alright,
checking.
I'm curious to see
time again. This
what's gonna
is
happen.
The court's judicial assistant and timekeeper, and it looks like they are checking time again,
I
which
think
is
they're
interesting.
just
The time
checking
has become
time.
a huge factor.
They've got
in trial today.
Amber Heard's team has got to have like 30
Only
minutes
bashing her
left at
scientific
least.
opinion on her own opinion and Amber Heard, she fudged the test to support her own opinion. Maybe. Do you think the jury sees the same? They might, especially when compared to Dr. Curry. They might. These experts present very differently. The jury might also
Dr.
be
Curry
exhausted.
was smart,
Why can't they use the
intelligent,
Australia recordings?
calm. The way she explained things
that
was
Brian
like, oh,
felt
you just do
incredibly
this,
average
and you
that
just do that, and
completely
just do that. And
disputes
she
Amber
was
Heard's
calm about
testimony
it,
and
and
proved that she's
sweet,
lying.
and
There has been
smart.
there
Just more
obviously
intelligent
the
and
parties know.
eloquent
Well,
than
I'm
Dr.
assuming
Don
that it's
Hughes.
obvious. I'm now glitching like Elaine. What, if any, obviousness is there, Emily? It seems obvious to me that if this audio exists and the internet has it, that the attorneys have it as well. I don't remember if it came up in the UK case because I only went through the judge's ruling at the end of the UK case because we could not watch it the same way here. So I went through the UK ruling. After seeing the evidence here, I think there are maybe some presumptions that I would not have made if I was the judge in the UK, but I am not. The audio in Australia that is known to the interwebs has, I think, been ruled out in this case. I don't know if we will ever know why. I can imagine it's because it involves third parties. There is a stipulation to audio that just has the voices of the two parties in this case. And I imagine that it falls within that. I don't know if there are issues of the propriety of recording it, but they asked Ben King about it. Are you aware that a recording was made? They asked him about it. I don't know if they were trying to open the door to get it in, trying to authenticate it, but it was asked about, and he said that he became aware later. But they did not. They did not enter it. So, can you stream your and the Law Nerds reactions to old trials that are on Court TV new series idea? I will see. I tend to go through documents and current stuff, and it's a lot. We are behind. I am behind on quite a lot of cases that I regularly cover. However, it's not. I will not rule it out. I feel like maybe it's perfect for the podcast, like The Office Ladies. You watch a day of trial for an episode. I love your streams. Thank you. I always want to watch them after I watch the trial for the day because case to form my own opinion. Fair. You're always on point with everything. Well, thank you. Thank you for making things easier. That is always my goal, is to make things easier to understand based on my experience and education, and to save you the hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that law school inevitably brings. Can witnesses hear the approach? No. Or does the white noise block? The white noise blocks it. I want to be able to hear the approach. The jury's not in the courtroom. I want them to just do it on the record. I know you get 1,000 of these, but thank you so much for your effort and everything you do. Huge fan. Fellow ADHD are here. Thank you. Jekyll loves Hyde. I am always down for others saying that it helps normalize it for them, because if we can destigmatize neurodivergence in the broader sense and being a professional who's neurodivergent, then I'm here for it. Blue Cannon said, came for this trial, but saw your TED Talk last night. Going through that now and brought me to tears, feeling seen. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. I saw Runkle in there. I did.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated.
They have not
Your
wrapped
next
yet.
witness.
Next witness.
Your Honor, defendant calls Amber Heard.
All right, Ms. Heard, if you come to the stand,
Oh no.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I'm dying to know how much time they have left. I'm dying to know how much time they have left. They better keep this limited.
You should keep
Thank
it
you, ma'am. Just a
limited.
reminder, you're still under oath, okay? Of course, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you.
Keep
All right,
it
your question.
limited because so much was
Amber,
refuted.
just to orient you and the jury,
Oh.
this time we're in the rebuttal to
Oh
your
boy.
counterclaim against Mr. Depp. So I'm going to confine my questions to that, okay?
All right.
I like that
How
Ron Born
have
is
you
taking the
suffered
questioning.
publicly as a result of the Depp
I like that
Waldman
Ron Born's
statements?
taking the questioning a lot. I'm happy to see that.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Woman,
And
double
Camille.
standard.
I am
Oh, we got
Harassed.
Camille? Oh, hell.
humiliated, threatened every single day.
These are all lies. Remember, these are all pretty
Even
much
just walking
effing
into this
lies.
courtroom
Pretty much all
sitting
effing
here.
lies.
in front of the world, having the worst parts of my life, things that I've lived through, used to humiliate me.
You used Johnny's
want to
drug
kill me.
intake to humiliate
They
him
tell me so.
and call him an
day.
abuser. Shut the F
People want
up.
to put my baby in the microwave.
That's fucking
tell me that.
appalling. And none of that's fucking
Johnny-
okay. But I don't know if
Threatened.
that's because of the Waldman statements.
Promised.
Yeah.
Promised me that
That's
if I
what you
ever
say.
left him, he'd make me think of him every single day.
I think
that I
that's outside
lived.
the scope.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Yep.
I'll sustain the objection as to
Yep.
if you want to ask the question.
And she's like, get it, Camille.
Get it, girl.
Amber, how did Mr. Depp's statements and threats to you that you were discussing,
Not Depp's statements.
how did
Did you
those
see
continue
Bench's
to
face?
manifest themselves?
He's like, oh, this is gonna, yep.
In the harassment and the humiliation, the campaign
She said Adam
against me
Waldman's
that's
statements did it.
echoed
And he's not asking about
every
Adam
single
Waldman.
day on social media and now in front of cameras in this room. Every single day I have to relive the trauma. My hands shake. I wake up screaming. I have to live with the trauma and the damage done to me. My
What
friends have to live
damage?
with a set of unspoken
Like,
rules
you
about
abused
how
Johnny
not scare
Depp.
me.
Objection, hearsay.
There you go. Well, I don't know.
It's
Unspoken rules
It's outside.
Overruled.
hearsay.
Go ahead.
Let's see.
They're
about how to
unspoken.
not touch me,
Unspoken.
not to
I
surprise
wouldn't have
me.
used that objection.
My intimate partners have rules about how they can deal with me, how they can touch me. I have rules for doctors, medical professionals I see, gynecologists I see. I live my life with these sets of rules that I have to follow, my friends have to follow for me not to have a panic attack.
You mean the
or a
friends that
triggering
don't
event
talk to you?
where
The
I
friends you
relive the
paid off
trauma.
so that they could
Even
come
if I'm
testify on
training
your
to do
behalf?
My movie, for instance, I'm training for Aquaman, a combat scene, and a trigger happens. I have a meltdown.
There's
and have
no
to deal
trigger
with
that
The-
happens.
The crew I work with have to deal with that because.
Oh,
of
so
the
you
damage
said
I
you were
walk
fired
around
from
with every single
Aquaman.
day from what I've
So
lived
now
through,
you're saying, I work
from
on
what
the
I've
film.
survived. I'm not sitting in this courtroom snickering.
Yes,
I'm
you
not sitting
are.
in this courtroom
That
laughing,
is
smiling,
outside.
making
That's
snide
outside the
jokes.
scope,
You were
Camille.
laughing
No.
yesterday.
This is
You were
horrible.
smirking.
We watched you
This is
yesterday.
painful.
You're on camera and you're
For
lying.
any human being
I don't doubt that's
to
true
go
either.
through.
But also,
And perhaps it's easy to forget that, but I'm a human being.
So is Johnny.
And even though
Camille
Johnny
could
promised
object.
that I deserve this,
Yep,
and promised
that's where
to
the
do this,
objection
I
should
don't
come in.
deserve this.
Come on. Object, Camille.
move on.
Object.
The statements,
Make
the
come on.
campaign
Camille, object
that-
here.
that
Object.
Johnny has elicited millions of people to do on his behalf
that's
when he
speculative.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of
Yes,
foundation.
yes, move to
Torture
strike.
me every day.
Move to
Speculation.
strike.
I'll sustain the objection.
There you go.
Amber, how have the Depp Waldman statements impacted
There you okay, now
your ability
we're on
That's
Adam
an answer.
Waldman.
to do charitable work?
You know,
I don't know if that's relevant, but okay.
I would, the only reason that people like Dr. Curry can sit up here on the stand and say I'm high functioning, I do things like have hobbies.
Oh, whoa, whoa,
Have
whoa, whoa, whoa,
interest.
whoa.
is
Objection,
because I'm not-
non-responsive.
Yep.
There you go.
Your Honor, Mr. Depp gave long-winded responses yesterday.
You didn't object. That's
It's
the
because I found a
difference.
solution to that pain. I woke up every morning with panic attacks and
Well, she just
trauma
called out
until I realized I could
Dr.
do
Curry.
something with it. So to answer your question, Ben, I was able to turn the things that I've lived through,
Ben.
my pain, my life experiences,
That's his
into
name?
work,
To
into
answer your
action, into
question,
providing a voice
Ben.
for other people. I'm not a saint. I'm not trying to present myself as one, as you all know, but I
Yes, you are.
selfishly found relief in being able to use what I've lived through to advocate for others. to
Advocate
bring
for
light to
others,
these
my
issues, to give
ass.
voice to people who don't
Where are the
have the voice and
donations,
the
Amber?
platform that I
Where?
have.
You only gave
And while I would not wish
250,000
this
to the
situation
children's
on the
hospital.
worst
You gave
enemy.
0 to the ACLU, who,
If it
like Ben Chu
gives a
said,
voice
you
to
shouldn't
someone who
even be
doesn't have it.
donating to, because they're
I now,
co-conspirators
as I
in this
stand here today,
problem.
can't have
In
a
your
career.
op-ed, where
I
the
can't even
fuck
have
are the
people associate
donations,
with me because
Amber?
of the threats and the attacks that they have to endure.
Come on.
Objection
when they are.
non-responsive.
And I can't do my
So,
charity work.
sustain the objection.
She needs to stop when there's
Amber,
an
other
objection.
than
But
the
Depp didn't
threats
do
that
it
you
yesterday
described,
either.
what other threats have you endured since the Depp Waldman
Calls for
statements were made?
hearsay.
Calls for hearsay.
It all calls for hearsay.
I receive hundreds of death threats regularly, if not daily. Thousands.
This
since
is
this
your
trial.
fault.
Just
I'm sorry,
by
I don't feel
people
bad.
Mocking
I've received death threats myself.
my testimony about being assaulted. Making fun of my.
Objection relevance.
Yeah,
Non-responsive.
I think that's outside.
See,
Talking about
woman,
what's going
double
on social
standard.
media during this
You can
trial,
continue.
I have questions about.
It's been agonizing. Agonizing.
Where are the tears?
painful, And it was humiliating.
Yeah, you don't think
And what I
Johnny's
have to go
humiliated?
through. I hope no one ever has to go
No,
through
no,
something
no,
like
no,
this.
no. I would love if they were out of time to the point where she had to stop Amber Heard and she's like, oh, cut?
I
Oh,
just want Johnny to leave me alone.
I want Johnny to leave me alone. That's why I wrote the op-ed. That's why I did litigation against him. That's why I did the TRO. That's why. Yeah, okay.
Objection non-responsive.
There you go.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
There,
Next
okay,
question.
there you go.
She's allowed to watch the internet, just not when she was testifying.
What do
She's
you hope to
allowed
reclaim
to
after
watch
this
the
is
internet.
over?
I don't know how this is helping. And you guys just remember,
Protecting the secret that I did for as long as I did
whatever your feelings about Amber Heard,
has taken enough
no
of
name
my voice.
calling.
Amber Heard's a little bitch. I don't
mean,
care
Johnny has
about
taken enough
Emily's
of my
no-name
voice.
calling.
I have the
Amber
right
Heard's a fucking little
to tell my
bitch.
story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name.
What happened to you? Nothing
Fair
happened
enough.
to you. They've proven it over and
I have
over
a
and over
right
in this
as an
case.
American
You didn't lose your fucking job. You
to
didn't
talk
get
about what
abused.
happened to me,
There were no
to own my
injuries.
story and
Your
my
team
truth.
edited the goddamn
I have
photos.
that right.
Shut the F up.
Not your truth. The
I
truth.
hope to get my voice back.
You've had your voice. Johnny
That's all
Depp
I
was the
want.
one that was fired.
And I've said that from
You
day one.
weren't.
Thank you, Amber. I don't have anything else.
All right, cross-examination.
Let's go, Camille.
Thank you all for no name calling in the chat. Talking about her testimony is fine, but name calling is not. By the way, people receiving threats
Yes,
and harassment is never okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, on my chat, if you want to
they
name
kept
call
this very
Amber, go
limited
ahead.
in
You want to
scope.
tell her whatever
It's
you want. You want to threaten
interesting
her.
to me that
I'm
they
okay
didn't
with
bring
that.
up
I know
any
I
of
probably
the
shouldn't be okay with
past,
that, but I'm
TV
okay with
with
that.
Tasha
She
Van-
threatened Johnny
I
Depp's
think
life.
it's Van
We're gonna
Dyke.
give it back
If
to her.
I
So if
pronounce
you
that
in the
wrong,
chat want to
I
do that, you in the comments
apologize.
want to do that,
I
go ahead.
think
I don't
it's
really care.
interesting that they
I'd
didn't
rather you
address
talk
any of
about her
that.
testimony,
It
but
might
hey, I
be
can't
that
control your
Amber
speech.
wanted to have
I
her
won't
moment
censor
that
you like
Johnny
Emily
Depp had
does.
yesterday. He had a moment at the end of his direct examination before his cross examination where he said why he was going through this, and I tweeted it out. It was a fairly powerful statement. So with this, I think she wanted the staring down the jury is odd for me. I think she wanted to have that moment of saying, I want my voice back.
It's just
And
it just comes off
This
inauthentic.
might be the last witness.
It
and
comes
I
off
guess
like
that it probably will be the last witness here
terrible
before lunch of this
for-
case.
for
But
Amber
it's going to
Heard.
be interesting to
It
see
just it comes
how
off
the
fake.
jury feels
It
about
doesn't come
because
off
now we have a
real.
very close in time juxtaposition. to the
Just
two
terrible,
different
man.
testimonies,
Terrible
and
testimony.
that could either
Oh, I've
work
been
well for the
hurt.
jury
I've been
or
damaged.
not work well for the jury, depending on how they
No, you
feel
haven't.
about her testimony. But this testimony came in very emotional, very fast. She tried to get into harassment online, people making fun of her testimony, and this trial, which is very interesting to see trying to bring that again into court. But after having those social media experts that came in and talked about the hashtags, I don't know how the jury will feel about the online harassment campaign. I personally
Yeah,
don't think they have
exactly.
shown a campaign of online harassment. Have they shown that people act like dicks on the internet? Yes. Have they shown hashtags that are not flattering? Yes.
Yes.
Have they shown that those hashtags can be associated with the words hoax and fraud? Yes.
Yes.
But I don't think we have any evidence of an orchestrated campaign on social media. They've tried to
Exactly.
make that
From the
happen.
top down,
I just
from
don't think
Johnny
we've
on
gotten
down.
there.
There's
So to
no
bring it up
orchestrated
again,
campaign.
the jury might be like, but we're at the end of the case now. Where is it? You keep trying to make fetch happen. Where is the orchestrated hate campaign? Where is this on social media? Because we did not see that. We saw hashtags that are unflattering, just like we saw appalling texts from Johnny Depp. I think, again, when the jury takes this case back to the jury room, it is very likely that they say, okay, what Johnny Depp said over here, what Amber Heard said over here, fine. What is everything else? What are the photos? What are the documents? What is the other witness testimony? I think Camille wants to get into stuff, and the judge looks like she is explaining to Rottenborn, but you did this and you did that, and she is allowed to get into it because Camille is limited in cross to what was asked in direct. I think that's why direct was so quick and narrow. I will say I liked the dynamic with Rottenborn much better than the dynamic between Elaine and Amber Heard. I wonder if the jury will notice the difference between the dynamic between the two of them. I think Rottenborn probably should have been the attorney that did the examination of Amber Heard at all. It's interesting to me that she brought up Shannon Curry. The only reason people like Dr. Curry can be here, that was very, very interesting to me because then she tried to rebut Dr. Curry, and she could have, but Rottenborn didn't want her to get into it because Rottenborn didn't want her cross-examined on it. So with that, let's get to a few of your questions. I'm a photographer and file size absolutely can and likely will be different. iPhones have an option in photos on what you have a device in iCloud, so compression would change size. And they did talk about size changing. It is, I don't even know where we stand with the photos. Like after all the testimony, I would have to go back and rewatch it. Like I don't even know. Like I don't, I don't know where I stand with the photos. Where are the tears though? Felt Johnny's statement was way more believable than Amber's, and some might. I don't stand for death threats and threats against her kids. No, it's fucking horrible. People need to act right. The social media, and this is different with the rise of social media, right? That people can try to DM someone death threats, make threats against them, threats against their kids. I have had more threats against me and my kids in my work in my work being a content creator than I did as a district attorney. I found that very odd. The internet being the internet. It's never okay. I don't understand the mentality behind it. I just don't. But I also think that energy can go elsewhere. Is Whitney her side-eyeing Whitney Enriquez? Sorry, I keep calling her Whitney Heard because that is, I know her to be Amber's sister, but Whitney Enriquez is she trying to side-eye the camera? Can you feel it? Can you feel it zooming in? I just think that might be awkward too. But she started this whole thing with the op-ed. She was also the first one to attempt to initiate litigation, it seems. And I think that might come up too. And the jury might remember it, or the jury might be done. Can you clarify for us what constitutes freedom of speech and defamation with regards to libel or slander? I'm going to try to simplify. So you can say awful shit. It just can't be false. So defamation and libel, well, libel and slander, libel being written, slander being spoken, go to something that is not true, that is reputationally damaging. On not this week's podcast episode, which came out yesterday. By the way, the podcast just hit 1 million downloads. Thank you. Not on this week's podcast episode. On last week's podcast episode, I break down the jury instruction on defamation. And chat reminds me, if court ends early, let's just pull that jury instruction up again and break it down. I think that would be really helpful for us to do together, is to break down the jury instruction on defamation, and we will do that if they get done before lunch. It is 11:25. Court normally breaks around 12:30, so there's like an hour left. Again, Rottenborn was strategically very smart in keeping that direct examination very, very short, because you can't cross-examine forever. You could only get into what was gotten into on direct. Camille also did, I think, the appropriate thing and said, you know what, Your Honor, can we approach? Because there are areas she wants to get into and wants to make sure to not raise the objection in front of the jury like we saw in other trials. You want to make sure that door is open and clear it with the judge before you get into it. That is the respectful and the proper thing to do. So slander, it is a false thing that causes reputational damage. And when it comes to public figures, there is generally an element, not generally, it depends on how the element is worded based on jurisdiction, but there's an element of willfulness, meaning you know that it's false. And that is where proving defamation as a public figure is hard. We talked about this in the Cardi B defamation case. Proving that the...
So I just wanted to come in real quick. Look, I don't like the death threats. I don't like the whole, hey, put your baby in a microwave. That is just awful, okay? I think we should put the baby in the system. We should have the baby adopted, because you cannot have Amber Heard be around that child. Toxic and narcissist and a bitch, and we can't have that. However, look, I mean, as Emily just said, she was the first one to bring litigation. She was the first one to hit Johnny Depp. Well, she hit him physically and in this other way of doing the TRO, the temporary restraining order, writing the op-ed, claiming to be a victim, and da-da-da-da-da. She did all of this to herself, and she lied her ass off, including just now. She tried bringing people like Kate Moss into the story and got wrecked for it. So I think that Amber Heard did this to herself. I think she sees the reason for her problems, and I don't have any sympathy for her. I just don't feel it. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna bring complaints and accusations like this, you better back it up. Because if you don't, and they can prove you wrong like they have for the last 6 weeks, especially over these last 2 weeks, 5 and 6, especially this week. Oh, well, then you're screwed. You're screwed because they were able to attack you. They were able to rebut you. They were able to rebut your witnesses and your expert witnesses. So, and I think that they got lucky. That I think I have a theory on Jennifer Howell. I think she felt so attacked by Amber Heard's side that she didn't want to testify anymore. They got lucky that, she got lucky that the jury didn't get to hear what Jennifer Howell had to say, because she would have ripped Whitney Enriquez apart. Oh, I would have loved to see it. It would have been juicy. It would have been amazing. So, again, look, I think it is on her. On Rottenborn, I hate Rottenborn with a passion. I hate him. However, I think that it's a good thing that he did.
All right, let's get to some more questions. If the chat is moving fast and I don't get them, I apologize.
His strategy of I'm just trying to see if the court's back on. His strategy of, look, I'm just going to keep it here. Amber Heard should have taken that hint, because she went outside the scope, and I'm surprised that Camille didn't object to it. However, look, maybe that's why Emily said it, if she is very smart. Look, Judge, I have some questions for you. I'd rather just do this now. Let me approach. She's asking her exactly what she can go into, what questions, maybe not what questions she should ask, but what she should ask, but what kinds of things she can go into that won't draw so many objections. And if they do, by Rottenborn or Elaine, then the judge can say, nah, I went over this with her, you're overruled. However, look, she's a woman. She's on Amber Heard's side. I have always said it throughout this entire trial. I'm going to keep saying it until the verdict is read by the jury, or from the jury by the judge. Although she might just pencil in her own verdict and do her own thing because she's pro Amber Heard. That's not legal, but hey, you know what? Judges can get away with a lot of shit these days. So look, I do think it was smart for Rottenborn to say we're just gonna stick here because that limits Camille's testimony. Where I think it makes it a problem is, yeah, they only got into that kind of thing, but Amber Heard criticized Dr. Curry. Now I can bring up what Dr. Curry said about her and let Amber Heard answer in a way that proves Dr. Curry correct in her assumptions and her testing and her professional opinion, by the way, not this bull crap opinion that Dr. Hughes spreads. Right? But she also went into, I suffered social media. Okay, well, now we can go into the social media. They said this, they said that. She went in further. So now what I would be asking the judge too is, well, Amber Heard also said this, she said that. Can I go into those? Because she said it. And I think that she could. So now on Elaine, the last thing that I'll say, look, I mean, yeah, I agree. Rottenborn's a better questioner. He's a dick. He's freaking stupid but I'm trying not to curse. He's much better at questioning, and Elaine would have been leading. She feels so close, like they're girl pals, when she doesn't realize that Amber would smack her in the face and literally stab her in the back. So it would have been really bad for Amber Heard had Elaine done the whole questioning.
So that's circumstantial evidence. Did it say to the jury, Amber Heard gave TMZ the video? No. Can the jury conclude that from the evidence? Yes. And that's circumstantial evidence. And circumstantial evidence is a valid form of evidence. We're about to start cross-examination. I'm so excited.
Oh, let's go, Camille.
Here we go.
Get this, girl
don't forget to
boss.
do the YouTube things.
Let's
So
go.
wild that
Like,
there are
comment,
over
share, and subscribe to the channel. Press the
200,000
notification bell
Thank
so you
so
never miss
much.
another one of these videos and live streams.
So
Woo, I'm excited. Some
Ms. Heard,
sass
you
is
just
about
testified
to
that
go
this
on.
case has been very hard for you. So let's talk about that and why.
All right.
Your lies have been exposed to the world multiple times,
oh
right?
shit.
Oh.
I haven't lied about anything I've been here to say.
Oh, you haven't lied about
You
anything?
sat here and
Oh.
told this jury that the events in Hicksville started with Mr. Depp getting really upset about a woman leaning on you. Is that correct?
Uh-oh.
Yes, that's effectively what happened, yeah.
You testified that he actually grabbed that woman's wrist and twisted it, right?
And told her that he could effectively break her wrist by saying he knew how many pounds of pressure, asking her how many pounds of pressure it took to break
I wouldn't go here.
But your own witness, your former best friend, Rocky Pennington,
Your
she didn't
former
corroborate
best
that, did she?
friend.
She did not.
I'm not quite sure what part of that night she saw. There were a lot of people there.
That's fair.
Yeah, there was like
She didn't
12.
testify that Mr. Depp grabbed anyone's wrist in Hicksville.
Again, I don't know what Rocky saw. There were a lot of people there that night.
You testified that once you brought
none of
Mr.
them
Depp
saw
back
that,
to your
though.
trailer, he trashed it, correct?
That is correct.
And the manager of the Hicksville trailer park was furious that Johnny had wrecked the whole thing. Do you remember that testimony?
That's correct.
Well, we heard from that manager of the Hicksville trailer park, Morgan Knight, on Monday, didn't
Morgan
we?
Knight, that's right.
I'm not quite sure who that guy was or if he had any
Oh,
involvement.
you-
I'm just
ah,
saying a
no,
lot of
no,
people
no,
come
no,
out of the woodwork.
No.
Involved.
No.
They want their 15 minutes of
You're
fame.
accusing Mr. Knight of testifying
Falsely.
and committing perjury?
Yeah,
I'm not accusing anyone. I just don't recognize that man.
You just don't, I
You
don't,
heard Mr. Knight testify that it was actually
I don't know.
Mr. Depp spending time away from him. Isn't that correct?
How would he know? He wasn't there.
You heard Mr. Knight testify that it was
He was
actually
literally
he was yelling
there.
at Mr. Depp.
Again, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things to be involved in the Johnny Depp show.
Where are the
but
tears?
He wasn't there.
He
wasn't
was there.
And he certainly doesn't
He was
know what
right
happened
there.
behind closed doors. like most people.
So you're calling Mr. Knight a liar?
Does
I am saying he wasn't there.
with
and
regard to the
what
damage.
he testified to.
With
doesn't
regard to the
match what
damage, it's
I
his
know
trailer. He went in the
happened.
next
But I don't
day.
fault him. He wasn't there, so how would he know?
He testified he was there, Ms. Heard. Did you hear that?
That's
Oh
his testimony, yes.
So you're
no!
calling him a liar.
I'm just saying he wasn't there.
When
Heard
he
Mr.
said
Knight
he was
testified that
there.
The trailer wasn't trashed, and that's why you're calling him a liar.
He testified that a light fixture was broken, similar to the way that
Yes,
Johnny's
other than a light
employees
fixture, that was
testified
the
to
only
my
thing that was
closet being
broken, right, Ms.
rearranged
Heard?
and things
Ms.
like
Heard?
that.
The only thing that was
Woo!
broken in the trailer, according to Mr. Knight, was a light fixture. Yes or no?
I realized that he summed it
No.
up by saying a light
Yes
fixture
or
was
no?
broken, just the way his security guard summed up him trashing my closet as being rearranged.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike everything after he summed it up, that it was a light fixture.
So everybody's gonna have a rough
As
time on
non-responsive.
cross
Answer
on
the question,
rebuttal.
Your Honor.
Overruled.
In the security guard testimony, Your Honor?
I'll allow it, go ahead.
Oh well, then we're getting into all
Mr.
of
Knight
it.
also testified that he charged Mr. Depp only $62 for the damaged light fixture. You heard that,
Oh, this is
correct?
gonna be hot.
I did.
Wait, but how
And
did
Ms.
you
Hill,
hear
were
it?
the only one
How
that
did you
was
hear him
jealous that
testify it
Mr.
was
Depp
only a
spending
light
time with
fixture
other
if you
people?
don't even
Isn't
you
that
didn't
correct,
you
Ms.
didn't know
Hill?
who that man was?
In Hicksville, you were the one who was upset that Mr.
Huh.
Depp wasn't giving you enough attention.
Incorrect again.
Again? No.
Ms. Heard, you told this jury that you had no idea the press was going to be at the courthouse when you got your
Oh,
TRO
no,
on
we're getting
January
into
27th,
this.
2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I said I did not have anything to do with it.
No,
Yes.
you said you didn't know
My
that they
question
would be
again.
there.
You told this jury that
My
you had
question
no
again.
idea that the press was going
This
to
is
be
exactly why I love
outside
Camille.
after you got the ex-party TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize, I must have misunderstood Ms. Vasquez. I actually had no idea whether they were going to be there or not. When I
Oh,
walked
that's
into the
funny
courtroom
because
that day, it was completely
Somehow they
quiet,
knew that you
still,
were gonna
empty.
go to the courthouse.
Even though I had given Johnny's team notice that I was
Paparazzi.
filing a
Objection. Your
TRO,
Honor, this is not
we had no
responsive.
reason to
Move to
believe the
strike.
press knew.
And Your Honor, I would also ask that you instruct the witness to please stop talking once I lodge an objection.
Your Honor, she's trying to answer the question as best she can. Ms. Vasquez is
Holy
misrepresenting
shit.
what she testified to.
Well, I'll strike the last part as non-responsive.
Honor.
Just if you could just answer the questions asked, okay? Thank you, Ms. Heard.
Holy shit.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse.
Also, the
yes?
press wouldn't be
Yes.
inside the courthouse.
You
with
weren't
cameras.
shocked
They
at all,
can't
though, were you?
record inside the courthouse.
Incorrect. It
Exactly.
was
You knew the press
horrifying.
would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No,
Who else would leak it?
Well,
I'm
you did
looking
bring
at
your
the jury's
publicist to the
disconcerting.
courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. In case. And
You
I'm
actually
glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very
No,
day,
I did
didn't
not.
you?
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
Well,
So
we
who
heard
did?
testimony from former TMZ employee Morgan Tremaine yesterday, correct?
Did I hear his testimony?
Yes.
Yes, I was here.
And you
Uh-oh.
heard Mr. Tremaine's testimony that he knew to dispatch the paparazzi to the courthouse on May 27th, right?
I heard him say that he knew that, yes.
Yeah, and that he dispatched paparazzi to the courthouse to capture a picture of an alleged bruise on the right side of your face. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
She's holding her
That
on cross.
information must have come from your team, right,
Yes,
Ms.
she
Heard?
is.
Absolutely not. Why would I want that? What actual survivor of
Uh-oh.
domestic violence wants that?
Now, the
You were
video of
supposed
Mr.
to
Depp
turn your
eating
face,
up
he
some
said.
kitchen cabinets, you admit that you took that video, correct?
Yes, I did.
Right. And you acknowledge that the video was released online the day before you were deposed in connection with your divorce from Mr. Depp in August of 2016, right?
I believe it was, yes.
But you testified that you had absolutely nothing to do with the video's release, right?
Absolutely not.
Wait,
And you testified that you
absolutely
learned
not?
about it when you landed after
Yeah,
flying
I would
into
clarify
LA.
that.
Do you remember that testimony?
Upon touchdown is when I was alerted to the video's
You
existence
heard Mr.
online.
Tremaine testify about this
the
video
video.
as well yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you heard Mr. Tremaine testify that TMZ received the cabinet video
Danger,
the same
danger,
day you landed
danger.
at
Uh-oh.
LAX. Yes?
I don't know if that I don't know if that's what his testimony was. I'm
You
sorry.
Yes, it
heard
was.
Mr. Tremaine testify that the cabinet video was
Camille's gonna
posted
tell you.
15 minutes after TMZ
Uh-oh.
received it. Yes?
That's what I heard him say.
And that this could only have been possible if the video was received directly from the source. Yes?
I heard him
Uh-oh.
say that. I don't know if that's true or if that's possible because
you
it didn't come
heard
from me. I was
Mr.
flying.
Tremaine
So
testify.
I know that's incorrect is what I mean to say.
Don't interrupt like that.
Another liar on the stand.
I just know that
Doesn't look
Everyone's
like-
a liar
doesn't
but
look
her
good.
is their theory of the case.
And you heard Mr. Tremaine testify that TMZ owns the copyright to the cabinet video, right?
that's news to me.
They
That's
tried
Cabinet
to
news.
own
video
my
you filmed of your then husband. Yes?
The copyright ownership of that is news to me. I learned that yesterday.
No,
It's
you
the
didn't.
cabinet video
Camille asked you
that
about it on
captured
Cross. You didn't learn
of
that
your then
yesterday?
husband. Yes?
That is correct. I did capture that video, and
The
yes,
cabinet
that was my
video-
husband.
The same cabinet video that was released the night before you were deposed in your divorce. Yes?
That's correct.
Get
You
into
must
the
have
editing.
also heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the version of the cabinet video
Yes!
that TMZ received was incomplete compared to the video the jury saw in this trial.
Oops.
Did you hear that?
Be careful
The
how you
video
answer this.
that the jury, that you have seen is complete.
Right. But the one
That's not the
TMZ
question.
got the day before your deposition in the divorce was incomplete.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
He testified that at the beginning portion of the video,
I
where
doubt
you
it.
set up the camera, that wasn't included in the video that TMZ received.
I don't know what video TMZ
I'm talking
received.
about Mr. Tremaine's testimony, Ms. Heard. Let's just
So you're
focus on
asking me to
Mr.
repeat
Tremaine.
his testimony?
No, I'm asking you if you recall hearing him say those words to this jury.
Yes,
Under
I
oath.
heard his testimony. We all did.
And he testified that the end of the video where you can be seen smirking. I know you testified earlier that you haven't been smirking in this trial, but you sure were caught on camera smirking in that video.
I disagree with that.
Was also not included in the TMZ video.
Everyone can
Oh.
watch that video and you can determine whether you think it's funny to me or not.
That's because the video came from you, right, Ms. Heard?
She didn't say funny. She said
No, it did not.
smirking.
You
That
edited
video
out
did
the
not
portions.
come to me. I
Ms.
mean, come
Heard,
from me.
Ms. Heard,
You've
you
been
edited
admonished
out
by the
the
judge once,
portions
Ms.
that
Heard.
made you look bad before sending it to TMZ.
You're very wrong about that.
So that
If I
all
wanted
Oh.
to leak
that
information, I
looked
could have
bad.
done it in a more effective way, a lot sooner and a lot more.
Because you
I
knew
was
exactly
living
how to
with
do
a
that,
mountain of
right?
this evidence. If I wanted to leak it, I could have done a lot
Mountains?
more with it.
Mountains?
So you testified earlier in this trial that you didn't know how to leak things.
Oh, there you go.
Try to out clever.
You edited that video before you gave it to TMZ so that only Mr. Depp would look bad.
That's
Yes?
right.
It's absurd.
Right in the middle of your divorce proceedings.
Again, you're very wrong.
Look at Camille, not the jury.
Yeah. Don't be
I'd like
looking
to
at
show
that
you,
jury.
a picture from that's already admitted into evidence. It's Defendant's Exhibit 799.
We'd love to see it. Oh boy. This is
This
the
is
problem
great.
that Team Herd has right now. They are very limited on
This
time.
is you at the courthouse on May 27,
Camille has
2016,
all
when
the
you got
time
your
in the
domestic
world.
violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
Talk
It
about
is.
And next to you is a woman named
why
Jody
this wall
Gottlieb,
looks
right?
weird.
Yes.
Jody Gottlieb is your publicist.
And dear friend,
Now
Oh,
I'd like
yeah,
to
sure.
show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1316.
Is that the first time we've heard her call a friend? Because I think it is.
I got thoughts on that testimony.
This is a picture of you and your
With
friend Rocky
TMZ.
Pennington, right?
that is correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to move to admit this photograph.
New
Any
evidence.
objection to 1316?
Hmm.
No, Your Honor.
All right, 1316 in evidence, you can publish to the jury.
Ooh, publish.
This is a picture of you on May 28th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't know when this was taken.
This is
Show
the day
her.
after you obtained the domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
Oh boy.
I have no idea when this image was taken. I did not take it.
There's no bruise on your face in this picture, is there?
Again, I don't know when this was taken.
That's not the
and
question.
Also, I'm outside. I was obviously wearing
Oh.
makeup. I have
Oh,
no idea
obviously
when this
wearing
was
makeup.
taken, so I
Oh,
have
but
no
you were
idea if it
bruised.
was
Let's
taken
refresh
the
your
way
recollection.
bruised you can
Let's
see or not.
refresh your recollection about when this picture was taken. Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit
There you go.
1315, just for the witness?
Oh, shit.
Oh boy.
I'd
This is
show
an
it to the
article
jury,
dated
too.
May 30th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
That's what it is, yes.
And this article contains the same photograph of you and Ms. Pennington we were just looking at, yes?
Yes, I see that.
And the article is entitled, Amber Heard Smiles as She Puts Arm Around Friend One Day After Getting Restraining Order Against Johnny Depp. Is that what the title says?
I know that's what the title says, yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit and publish the article.
Where's
with
that
everything
bruise, Amber?
about
Where's the
headline and date.
fucking bruise?
photo.
Where's the bruise? I don't see a bruise. You don't.
Objection, Your Honor.
Nobody sees a
Inconsistent
bruise.
From the way you treated all of these.
I'll sustain the objection. All right, next question.
Woman.
Let's take a
Double
look at
standard.
picture Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317. This is also a picture of you and Ms. Pennington on May 28th, 2016, isn't it?
I don't know when this photo was taken.
No,
but
no,
it's
no,
the
no.
same outing
That's
as
not the
picture prior.
question.
Your Honor,
Is
I'm
it?
going to move to admit and publish Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 1317 in evidence, you can publish.
There's no bruise on your face in this picture either, right?
Publish it.
I disagree. If it is taken when you represent it was taken, then obviously there's a bruise on my face. It's covered
Where?
in makeup as per usual.
Oh, but you didn't cover it in
Ignore that
makeup
picture
when
for
your
a moment,
restraining
please.
order.
Thanks, Tom.
And the jury's going
That's
to
Josh
believe
Drew in
what
this
they
picture,
believe.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
And Miss Pennington
That is correct.
in there too?
That
Ms.
is correct.
Pennington submitted a sworn statement on your behalf
like
in
the rest
support
of
of your
his sleeve,
domestic violence
though.
restraining order, didn't she?
I believe she did, yes.
Mr. Drew also submitted a statement in support of your domestic violence restraining order.
I believe they both did, yes.
Ms. Hurd, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 512,
Yeah, how much did you
which
pay
is already
them?
in evidence.
I'd love to know. How much of that charity
Oh,
money
boy.
did you give Rocky Pennington
I
and
like
Josh
that they're
Drew?
going through photos. This is exactly what Rotten
You've seen
Boy
this
did
photograph
yesterday.
before, right?
I have.
On the second day of your direct testimony, you testified that this was taken in the downstairs of the main apartment on
Oh my
December
God.
15th,
She's gonna bring up the
2015.
discrepancy
Do
in
you
these
recall that
photos.
testimony?
It's not come up
Oh.
yet.
Yes, I believe so.
So it's your testimony that Defendant's Exhibit 512 reflects damage to Penthouse 5 that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident. Yes?
Uh-oh.
I'm not quite sure from what incident this is when I see this photo in a vacuum without
Oh, now
context.
you're not sure.
Let's give you that context. Can
Oh.
we please?
Dead. I'm dead.
I could have day 16. Charles.
This photo, just for what I'm thinking, since they're pulling up the photo, this photo has been submitted twice. It is slightly colored different, like the contrast is different, but it's been submitted twice, going to different events, and they have not brought up that discrepancy yet. Oh, I thought we would have a longer break, but it's going to come up. So these photos are
There's a
submitted
different
to
contrast.
Please turn
different
first
events.
to page 4585.
And we've not seen it come up other than on the internet, where the internet has been like, those are the same photo.
And she doesn't remember, but if like Rottenborn or Elaine were to ask her, oh yeah, I remember. See the lies? See how she's really combative? See how she
Specifically on starting
isn't
on line
crying?
16,
Where are the tears?
where it says,
Camille
let's
is
talk
matching
about
energy.
December 15th, 2015.
You said 458. Oh, four. I'm on 4485. Sorry, you said 4585.
4585.
Pardon.
Line 16.
I will try to get to the questions when we get breaks. Tanya said once again, everyone else lies, including her own witnesses. This is what Camille's going to try to point out for the jury. And again, Camille has so much
time.
Line 16,
time.
where it says, let's talk about December 15th.
She's got 7 hours.
2015. Do you see
Lizzie
that?
Beth, I didn't know
Just
that was
about.
out yet. I
Yes.
have not seen it yet, but thank you.
And then do you see that your testimony
Thank
about
you.
December
I'll go find
15th,
it.
2015 follows?
Let's see. It's just the first line or two.
At closing, it will be Depp, then Heard, then Depp, then Heard. They each have 2 hours. The time today doesn't count against. Heard's team started today with much less time on the clock at just about
Yes.
an hour and 15 minutes.
Now, I'd like
Depp's
you to
team
turn
had
to
7
page
hours.
4603,
This is going to be a long, I think, well, a methodical cross.
starting at
Point
line 12.
by
Yeah, it might
point.
not be long, but
By
it'll be
4603.
very well done.
And
Like a steak.
that is where this time in this trial is going to play in so heavily. Each side started this trial with 61 hours
Starting
and
at
15
line
minutes.
12 and going on to page 4604, line 4.
Okay.
And do you see that you testify that Defendant's Exhibit 512, which is on the screen,
Yes,
is a picture of the downstairs of the main apartment?
that's correct.
And the main apartment is Penthouse 5 in the Eastern Columbia building, right?
No, well, depends on what, the main apartment's penthouse 3 generally when we say main apartment.
Penthouse 5 was where you had your closet?
The downstairs is kind of like a, had
That's
some
not
of
the
my painting
question.
studio
That's
set
not
up.
the
and a
question. Where'd
reception
you have your
area.
closet,
Upstairs was
bitch?
the closet.
Got it.
Mezzanine
Where'd you have your
room,
closet?
Office was in between.
All right, so it's your testimony that defendant's exhibit 512 reflects damage to the penthouse, penthouse 5, that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident, right?
I'm just not sure from which incident this is a picture of, since I'm only looking at
Even
a
though your
partial
counsel
floor.
You
was
testified
asking
to
you
it.
questions about December 15th, 2015, and then admitted this picture into evidence
Again,
in
in my
relation to that incident.
sorry, go ahead,
In
what?
relation to that incident on December 15th, 2015. This exhibit, defendant's exhibit, you are the defendant, number 512, was admitted into evidence in this court. You testified that this was the result of damage that occurred on December 15th, 2015. Yes or no?
I just need to orient myself because I'm just looking at a picture of a partial
No,
picture of a
Ms. Heard,
floor.
you didn't just
She's
look at
not
a picture.
oriented to time.
You looked at your testimony.
You pointed me towards the page and then asked me a question. I haven't actually reviewed it. I don't know if
review
this
it.
was submitted in relation to that incident.
Let's pull up, let's actually
jury
leave out
does now.
defendant's 512 and please pull up
She's
defendant's
trying to not
exhibit
answer the
725,
question.
Oops, side by side.
Uh-oh.
The thing
which
is,
is already in evidence.
She opened the
they
door.
Redacted
cross
form,
the
Your Honor.
questions
All right,
a
thank you.
lot of the time
Side
matter
by side.
more than the answers. Let's do them side by side.
You've seen this photograph as well, right?
I have.
There it is.
There
On
it
the third
is.
day of your direct testimony, you testified that this photograph reflected spilled wine in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, didn't you?
Again, I don't know because I'm looking at a partial picture of a floor. So unless
No,
you remove
you
the metadata you
testified.
covered up, we could then tell. If you
I didn't
remove-
cover it up, Your Honor.
Could we unredact
Your Honor
them so
did.
we could get context?
Oh,
That's how it's in evidence.
That's how it's in evidence.
Next.
and
Well,
your team put it in
metadata
evidence.
next to it is so that.
Ms.
Oh,
Heard,
there's no
Ms.
question
Heard,
pending.
there's no question pending. And I would
There you
appreciate it if
go.
would be making argument to the jury.
Sorry, I
It's
thought you had
inappropriate.
asked me about it.
It's inappropriate.
No, I didn't ask
Inappropriate.
you about anything.
Damn, get it,
Let's look at your
Camille.
direct testimony
You can
from
see Chanley
the
Painter
third
looking
day.
at the jury here. Runkle looking at the jury. DUI guy looking at the jury. You can see everybody looking at the jury.
Ooh, if I
Which
was
is
the
this
jury, I'd be like,
direction
bitch, I'm finding you guilty.
Wow. And again, this is what we got with Depp too. Confronted with the photos that they were holding out until the end. And that is not surprising. None of this would have come up if Heard hadn't testified. But
Yep.
these two parties want to have their say in court. And with that choice comes cross-examination. And wow.
Great responsibility.
Turn to page 4750
Camille Crossboss
in day
Vasquez.
17 transcript.
Sorry, can you?
Four-
She's a
4750.
cross boss queen.
Slowing it down is not going to make it less painful at this point.
Nope.
And this is the thing, Camille has the time to go line by line by line that they could not do with Depp yesterday because they simply did not have the time.
Yeah,
They wanted to
Rottenborn was
get
like
to
rushing.
the
You
fruit
said
of
this?
the
No,
line.
I just need to get to. No.
I want to
You
know
see
what's
where
on
Ms.
line 16.
Bredehoff asked you to describe for the jury what took place on May 21st, 2016?
I see that.
And do you see that your testimony is reflected about May 21, 2015
Yes.
that follows? Okay.
Yes.
Now let's turn to page 4804.
I haven't even looked up. Thank you
line
all for
14.
watching this with me. This is wild cross.
4804.
Yeah, nobody's watching it with me, but that's okay.
Starting at line
Get me
14
more views.
Yes.
And I'm
through
fascinated.
4805, line 4.
What's interesting though is Amber Heard's demeanor on
going to what
cross
line?
has been
Line
good.
4 at 4805.
She has held her own. Even when her testimony seems contradictory, she has just held her own. Just nope.
You see that you're
Nope.
testifying that defendant's exhibit 725, which is reflected on the right side, reflects spilled wine on the floor in penthouse 5?
That's correct.
Okay, and defendant's exhibit 512 and 725 seem to be different versions of the same picture, don't they?
That's correct.
Oops.
So which is it? Which one was taken on December 15th,
She's
2015,
gonna say, I don't know.
or May 21st,
I can't see the metadata.
1st, 2016?
If you remove the redacted metadata, you can find out. It's right there.
Or if you're telling the truth, you would know.
Recognize
Oh.
a portion of of spilled wine on a floor, and I'm supposed to know off the top of my head when you've
No.
lived through 5 years of this stuff? I don't think so. That's not how that works.
Oh, the best friend's necklace is back.
Thank you, Tom.
I think my favorite part of Amber Heard's
Ms. Heard, at the
cross-examination
beginning
last
of your
time.
cross-examination
Your
last
Honor, may we
week,
approach?
My favorite part of Amber Heard's cross.
Wow, this is getting
When
crazy.
they were talking about the cocaine table photos.
She's saying,
and she's
"Oh, it's
like, "It doesn't
redacted.
look
Oh,
like
it's
people have
redacted.
been,
Oh, it's-
you
how
know,
the
this is
fuck
a
do
very
you know
new
it's
table. It doesn't
redacted,
look
you
like
little
people have been snorting
bitch?
cocaine off the
You
table."
don't know.
And
I'm
Amber Heard looked
animated.
at
I'm
me all
sorry.
back
I'll
as I was
calm
like,
down later on. I'm sure.
"Respectfully, I don't think you
How-
know how that works.
Thi-
Favorite moment. I
You
think,
are-
there were good moments, but I think that was one of the.
I can't answer that
favorite
because
moments
you
of
know you
cross-examination last
redacted
time.
this,
And
and I don't have to admit that. I
Johnny
don't
Depp
think
has
that's
been
how it works. I don't
cheeky
think so.
and sometimes dismissive on cross-examination.
This is not good for Amber
has
Heard.
too, but
It wasn't
she
redacted.
has
If the
held
judge
her own,
even
and her
says,
demeanor on
"Hey,
cross,
this is not
if
reacted,"
this
and
had
she's
been
saying
her
it's
demeanor, I
reacted,
think, on
there's a
direct,
problem.
I think it would be a lot easier for the jury to hear her story. Sometimes her responses to questions on direct got so big and then don't match the other documentary evidence that it was hard. Her demeanor here is much easier for me to listen to, even though it's on cross. And that is really interesting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, I would ask that there be no words or no phrases, no words, no sounds at all coming from you. If I hear
Oh,
one more
shit.
sound, I will clear the gallery and we will continue this testimony without anybody in the courtroom. Understood?
What the fuck
Good.
did they do
All right,
in the
your next
gallery? Because that can
Mr.
impact
Depp,
the
at the
jury.
beginning of your cross-examination
Oh,
last week, I
shit.
showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury, tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
Oh, God.
That's correct.
And you testified you found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently. He didn't make that claim up until very recently. So when we signed our divorce agreement and we signed a statement saying that neither party had ever said false claims for financial gain, it was relevant and important to me because I was the only one making the accusations. I was the only one making those claims. He wasn't doing that at the time, and he signed his name to it.
Because
You
he
didn't
wanted to
expect many
end
people
it
to show up and
peacefully.
testify on his behalf.
Peacefully.
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath
She
that
should
you
have said
never
I had the witness
assaulted,
list. Camille.
when you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect
Oh!
that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So
It
you
is
think
clear
Ms.
by this
Moss
courtroom
needs
how
to
many
come
people
out
will
of the
do that.
woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Ask her, does Kate Moss
Everybody
just
who
want her
was
15 minutes of fame?
around in the 90s
Oh, I would
and
love
the
that.
early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people.
Everyone.
Of course, that's what
No, you
flashed through
didn't.
my
You heard
head
the
when
story
my
from
finite
Johnny Depp
husband
of
not
how
only
she
swung
fell,
on me, but all
and
of a
then
sudden
you
he
used
swung
it for
on my
your own
sister.
fucking personal
Of
gain.
course
That's
I
what
saw that.
happened.
I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It
Yeah,
didn't matter.
of course
It
you
doesn't
didn't
change
expect her
what
to
I
show up.
believed at the time
You didn't expect
when
him
we
to
were
call
on
you
the
out on your
stairs and I thought he
bullshit.
was gonna kill my
That's
sister
what
for
happened.
pushing her down the stairs.
Oh,
You
shit.
told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that that was untrue, did
Notice
you?
how Camille changed
Incorrect. I've
demeanor?
already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under
Oh.
oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016,
Good line of
you
questioning.
didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever. for
She's
him.
just sticking with the
That's his
answer.
power. That's why I
Stick
wrote
with
the
the answer,
op-ed,
bitch.
is I'm
Stick with the
speaking to that
answer.
phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him? and will
Oh,
fault his power?
they're
He
just
is a very
supporting him.
powerful
They're
man,
not
and people
refuting
love
me.
currying favor with powerful
Oh.
men. And I know
Favor
that
and
firsthand. I've
risking
lived
jail
it.
time for committing perjury?
Excuse me?
was in the-
I didn't hear your question.
I was in the
Excuse
middle
me,
of my
question?
lines.
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind,
Curry?
please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom
I have
for a
seen people
powerful
do this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again.
Commit perjury?
That's
You've seen
why
people
I
commit
wrote the
perjury?
op-ed.
You didn't expect
you?
Ben King, the House manager in Australia, to show up from England. He flew from England to testify that Mr. Depp's fingertip was found exactly where he said it would be.
Oh no!
I have never heard Johnny testify to knowing where his finger was, or really, frankly,
That's not the question.
That's
making a
not the
claim that he knew
question.
where it was when it was found.
She said, "Did
I've
you
never
expect
heard
Ben
Johnny
King
say
to
that.
fly
You
here
didn't
from
expect
fucking
him in
England?"
Wyatt.
Johnny has never
Ms.
actually
Heard,
said
She's
that.
asking you about Ben King.
And
I think the
Ben
jury
King,
can,
yes.
Ms. Heard, there's no question pending. You didn't expect Keenan Wyatt, Mr. Depp's longtime sound technician, to show up and testify that Mr. Depp is not being fed lines through his earpieces, but instead music, did you?
Not that it matters much, but of course I did. I know how his employees treat him.
So you
I know how
probably-
his team treats him. Of course I expected that.
Okay, so you probably expected Isaac
Uh-oh.
Baruch to come and testify for Mr. Depp, right?
Isaac said things helpful to her too.
I'm not sure I thought about that.
Yeah. But
How
you
much-
didn't expect Mr. Baruch to weep for Mr. Depp after what you've put him through and so many others with your lies.
I
did you?
relate to
Woo!
Isaac
She's almost
because he
done.
and I are
There's
the
I have
only
nothing
ones
further.
who cried on this stand.
Oh shit! She just walked out on her. Camille just mic dropped on her and said, "There's nothing."
Damn.
Camille just walked off.
That
Camille
just
walked off while
happened.
Amber Heard was still talking.
Ms. Heard, if
Holy
Mr. Baruch
fuck.
felt
Damn.
misled,
Whoa.
Johnny, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him from crying. This is horrible.
Ms. Vasquez has suggested that you faked bruises on your face. Is that
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I didn't need to.
I would just end with
Did
that.
you ever fake an injury caused by Mr. Depp?
No.
Yes.
I would end with
Any
that.
of the evidence of your injuries
And-
that has
and-
been put to
and-
the jury in this trial fake?
No,
Yes.
Absolutely
It
not.
absolutely is.
And to the
You
extent that there
fucking
may
little
be some
bitch.
confusion over when a picture of spilled wine was taken.
It's a
by my
difference.
deputy.
It's a different
Lack
contrast.
of foundation.
Overruled.
Of course.
There's so
You're a
many
fucking woman,
instances
Judge
of violence.
Penny.
There are so-
You fucking
There's
double
so many
standard
pictures. There's
bitch.
so much evidence.
There's so many pictures.
Most people don't have this kind of evidence for years. 5 years.
You had
I
this
was saying
evidence.
that to Johnny
You
on
took
the
these
phone, and I
pictures
was like,
Oh
from
my
day
years
one.
This has been going on, and I have pictures, we have texts, we have everything. Normally, you don't get this amount of evidence. That's what I
What
was
did
pointing
the
out to
guy
Johnny.
say?
It's crazy to try
People
to
don't throw away
challenge this
evidence.
in this way.
That's what the
It's
image
crazy.
forensics
It's easy
guy
to-
said.
to not know the context of a picture of spilled wine because there are so many more important details, pictures, and also.
What's more important?
What's
so
more
much I
important than the
didn't
spilled wine?
photograph, So much I didn't have the presence. of
Objection
mind to document.
non-responsive.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
There
Next
you go.
question.
Did
The
Mr.
jury's
Depp
gonna
abuse you
decide
physically?
if there's mountains of evidence.
Yes,
No, he
Verbally?
didn't.
yes,
Emotionally?
yes,
No, he did not.
Psychologically?
yes.
No, he did not. What the fuck is
How
going
did the
on?
threats that Mr.
He
Depp
should have
made
asked
against
about
you
sexual abuse.
individually years ago resemble what you've endured as a result of the Depp-Waldman statements?
And he did not.
Beyond the scope of cross, Your Honor.
It was.
Overruled.
Overruled because she's a
Johnny
fucking woman, you fucking
promised
double
me.
standard little bitch.
Promise me
Fucking
would
Judge
leave.
Penny.
that he'd ruin my career, he'd take my life from me. Death was the only way out, and if I got out, this is what he'd do to me. He'd make me hate him
Oh,
every
uh-huh.
single day. He promised me.
But you
global
didn't catch that on
annihilation.
audio,
You
Amber.
saw those texts. What he couldn't do, the work of one individual, meaning Johnny, when he was inviting a disgruntled
You
employee
lying
over for a
sack
spot
of
purple
fucking
to
shit.
Fix my flabby ass up. That revenge that he sought back then was just what he could do as an individual, calling the studio to get me fired, trying to block him.
Objection, Your
block me
Honor.
from
Lack of
working.
foundation, speculation, hearsay,
all in
non-responsive.
It's not
sustain
all
as
in evidence.
non-responsive.
It is non-responsive.
Ms. Heard, how did those things that you just testified to that Mr. Depp did, how did those resemble what happened to you after the
Minutes away
Depp-Waldman
from evidence
counterclaim
closing
statements
here.
were made?
Those are,
I don't
There's
know
Your
why he
Honor,
didn't
lack of
ask. He needed to
foundation.
ask that, and I don't know why he
She's-
didn't ask.
Overruled.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
those
Double
are just an
standard.
echo of what I'm living through today. It's like what I'm living in right now. What you see in this courtroom is an echo. This courtroom and the other courtroom he dragged me into to do the same thing again. That's just an echo.
You dragged
of
him
the
into
violence and
this.
the abuse
You
that
did
I
with
suffered
your
within our
op-ed.
relationship.
You
It
did
continues
this.
to have me fired, that blocking me to try to ruin my career, the threats
Ruined-
he's made.
he never
to
ruined
humiliate
it.
me globally. are
Walter
being lived
Hamada
out in
said
real
he
time
never
in front
did.
Of you, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 6 weeks, and
She's
for the
just
whole world.
gonna do her own
since our
closing
cameras here.
argument right now.
No further questions. Thank you so much, Amber.
All right, Ms. Heard, you can have a seat next to your attorneys.
Them calling each other by their first name is odd. I think Amber
They have
Heard's
the
team's going to
attorney's
rest.
approach.
We have no further way. Oh, they're going to figure out timing. I think this is the end of evidence. I think we have reached the end of evidence. But it
Oh
seemed like
boy.
Amber Heard wanted to give her own closing
Yeah, she did.
arguments.
She wanted
I
to
wanna know
take
what
her own
happened in the
narrative
gallery
and
to
give
get
her
the
own
judge
narrative.
to admonish the gallery so strongly.
Yeah,
The
me
gallery
too. What
has
the
to
hell
be
did the
mindful,
gallery do?
because their reactions can impact the jury. So
Yep.
it's just there are a lot of people in the gallery. We know from those that have been there in person that it's largely Johnny Depp fans, and it would be very difficult if one of those fans in the gallery did something or said something that impacted this jury in a way that could upset this case after 6 weeks and likely tens of millions of dollars of litigation. That would be wild. So, thank you.
Wow.
Grant, no need to be conflicted. I think Amber Heard absolutely
Let me
feels
just
the
get my
pain of
thoughts
a
together.
global kind of hate campaign, whether that was orchestrated by
because
Johnny Depp or not, is for the jury to decide. But
it
there's
wasn't
no denying
orchestrated.
That is in fact.
But anyway,
going on
I'm gonna just reflect for a
online.
little bit,
What
and hopefully,
it
if we get a
caused
break, I will
by
give my
is
thoughts. If
really the
not, oh
question
my
here.
God,
But I've
there's
always
way
said
too much
throughout
to
this
say there.
trial, the
Way
parts of
too
Amber Heard's
much.
testimony that rang the most true to me is when she is talking about her career, when she is talking about the negative impacts of her career, and when she's talking about her reputation online. Whether that's attributable to the statements she's suing over is the big question. But I absolutely believe that we've seen it throughout this trial, how she's been talked about on social media. We've seen the weight of public opinion against her. So I absolutely believe that she feels angry and hurt and frustrated by all of that. The cause of that is what the jury is going to have to decide. Is the judge going to say we've come to the close of evidence, ladies and gentlemen? Did she just close her
Your
laptop?
next witness?
Your Honor, the counterclaimant Amber Heard rests.
Rests.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Yay!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all the evidence you're going to hear in this matter.
Actually-
What I propose doing is to go ahead and give you the rest of the afternoon off so you can have a
Thanks,
good
Judge A.
restful afternoon and evening, and we will do closing arguments tomorrow morning at 9
thought Johnny
a.m.
Depp
And
had
then the case will be
7
submitted to you for
hours.
deliberations. Just to give you a little logistics of how that will go. Tomorrow, I won't give you a time limit as far as how long you can deliberate in the afternoon into the evening. I will tell you, within reason, I will tell you I do not serve dinner, so keep that in mind, okay? You will not be deliberating on Saturday or Sunday
Or
or
Monday?
Monday, because Monday is a holiday. I would like you to have you back here Tuesday morning,
9 a.m.?
at least by 9 o'clock. If you want to come earlier, that's up to you. You can decide as a group if you want to come earlier than 9 o'clock, but you have to be here at least by 9 o'clock to resume your deliberations again. And again, on Tuesday night, and if you have to go to Wednesday or Thursday, that the time that when you take your breaks is up to you, as long as you take them together, as far as not having any deliberations unless all of the jurors are in the
Everyone
room
must
at the
be
same
present.
time. When you take your lunch is up to you. And then again in the evening, within reason, I'll let you go as long as you'd like to go, okay? So have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, okay? Do not discuss the case with anybody, don't do any outside research.
Wow.
I thought Johnny
and
Depp
with
had
that,
more time.
we are at the end. All that's left is closing arguments, jury instructions, and for this to go to the jury. The court's going to likely do some legally court shit. So let's talk about that. The court's going to ask about jury instructions. I want to know if they are done yet, and then I'm going to answer questions. We are done.
We'll go ahead and take a modified lunch recess just till 12:50. We'll come back at 12:50. We just have a few jury instructions left we have to do. Make sure we get the verdict form taken care of. I want you to review the laptop that we have mocked up and make sure everybody agrees what's on it. And also I want you to look through all your
The evidence
exhibits
laptop.
and make sure we're all on the same page. Before you leave, I'll make sure you have copies of the jury instructions in the order that I'm going to read them, and you should be able to prepare for your closing arguments for tomorrow, okay? All right, we'll see you at 12:50 then.
So that will likely not be televised. They've not televised these types of court proceedings before, though the gallery and the public are allowed to be in there. They do not televise those parts of Law in Motion, which is the only thing I'm frustrated about not being there in court for, because I would love to hear that happening in court. Of course, when they do it up at the sidebar, you don't hear it. Wow. wow. All right, we're going to get to questions tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We are going to start with closing argument. I will be interested to see tomorrow what jury instructions are coming in. The court will read the jury instructions out loud. So you will see from the court all of the jury instructions. She will either do that before the attorneys argue or after. So we could start off right at 9 a.m. with reading in the jury instructions or with argument. I hope that she does the jury instructions first. I think it gives you a powerful leg to do your closing on. And I also think it gives the attorneys the weight to say this instruction, that instruction you've heard the judge say. And then closing is fresh in the jury's mind when they go back to deliberate. Only 2 hours each side. So 4 hours total tomorrow of closing. That might be split up by the lunch break, depending on when jury instructions are read. But then this case will go to the jury, and the court said you can deliberate as long as you like until it's time to break for dinner. So if they want to go to 7 o'clock tomorrow, they can. Will we be on verdict watch tomorrow? Yes, we will. Do I have like a storm watch? I need like a storm watch logo, verdict watch. But they then have a 3-day holiday. Will I be flabbergasted if this jury reaches a verdict tomorrow? Could that happen? Yep. And if that happens, we will see all of it together in Virginia. The verdict forms will include the damages portion. So they will get to decide liability if somebody defamed somebody, and then they will get to decide how much. And we will see on closing how much they ask for. Each side should be asking for their damages and asking for what they want. I don't think we're going to hear Heard's team argue with a straight face $100 million. I don't think that's going to happen. I wonder if Depp's team will ask for, his damages are $7 million that she took in the divorce and didn't donate. Or if they're going to say what he's looking for is his name cleared, liability, give him $1, we don't even care. And that will be very, very interesting to see. So with the 211,000 of you in here, I will just remind you, if you want to stay in the loop with what I am doing, and if you want me to alert you when I go live, if there is not a verdict tomorrow, I will go live for Verdict Watch and when we have word that a verdict will be read. Join the text crew. North America, don't have to pay. Like Phil DeFranco's, textemily.com from your mobile device will get you there. If you are not in North America where your cell phone might not allow you to be part of the text crew, just follow me on social. I will be sharing on my Instagram stories and on Twitter, whichever platform you prefer, at the Emily D. Baker, when it is time to go live. And if you like and subscribe to this channel, sometimes sometimes YouTube chooses to notify you. Sometimes it's a mystery. So we will see. I'm glad we still have a court feed right now. That's absolutely fantastic. So wow. I'm going to get to questions. I'm going to see if we have anyone else who can join us. It depends if they are outside of the presence of the jury and being mindful about what happened in court today. I really want to know what happened with the audience. And so we're going to see if we can bring somebody in who was in court today. All right, let me close this out and get to a few questions. She said she wrote the op-ed because she knew people would run to defend him because he's powerful. I thought it wasn't about him.
Yep.
She said in her cross-examination with Camille last time that the op-ed was about him and others, but yes, she seemed to say more clearly, this is why I wrote the op-ed, because of my experience with him. I think we've already gotten to the fact that this op-ed is probably about Johnny Depp. I think after the ACLU testimony that, the shit's out of the horse on that one. There's no pulling it back. What is going to matter is if she thought it was false when she wrote the op-ed. It's all going to come down, for me, for willfulness on the defamation. And I said I would bring up that jury instruction, so I'm going to get that ready. If we get Runkle in here, then we will put a pause on that and talk about court. I'm going to try to get to a few questions. Thank you for the super chats. I am trying to get to as many of them as I can. If you put a question mark or a Q at the front, I can know it's a question and make sure to answer it. Johnny Depp has the right to defend himself as well against defamation. Where is the evidence, the triggers she brings? But thank you for your education. You're welcome. We will see what the jury thinks. They are the finder of fact. They get to decide what's true. And hopefully, I really hope this jury doesn't hang. Man, the way I will be bummed. I really hope they come to a final decision and that this has some aspect of being like done, some finality to it. I think for the sake of the internet. For me personally, I need closure. But no, these parties have been locked at horns with this for 6 years. They also deserve closure. And we have Runkle the Bailey from court live. So let's add him in. Runkle.
Hey.
Welcome, friend. Introduce yourself to the chat. There's only 200,000 people here, so just be calm.
Okay. So it's just not many people then.
You and me and a few friends.
So yeah, I'm Ian Runkle. I've got a channel, Runkle the Bailey. I'm trying to find headphones to cut that echo. So I'm here at the courthouse, and I've been watching the proceedings, and holy crap, I just witnessed a murder.
Runkle, before we get into cross-examination, what happened in the gallery that caused an admonishment? Did somebody say something? Did you hear something?
I actually stepped out. I was trying to make a Twitter comment because I thought that was going to take a little bit of time. But everybody, so the gallery was not being good about keeping their mouth shut. And I think that the admonishment was just sort of general chatter, but I'm not certain.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I did hear the admonishment. She was telling everybody that if they didn't pipe down, she was going to clear the gallery, which I would not have liked.
Judge A had very strong "don't make me pull this car around" vibes in that moment. And it was, children, this is a multi-million-dollar civil litigation. We all need to act like it. We all came to court today with our court behavior on, and that's the vibe I got from Judge A. So it's very, very interesting hearing that admonition. I was really, really surprised by it. So talk to me about how that testimony and cross felt in the courtroom, because I held my breath for at least 3 minutes of that cross-examination. I don't know how, but I went, I gasped in and then I stopped breathing because it was just, what do you think vis-a-vis Johnny Depp's cross-examination, which was pretty spicy yesterday?
Well, honestly, I figured she was done before the cross even started. And the reason why is because she and the jurors had something in common, which is that neither of them were shedding any tears. And, you know, when she's talking about this emotional, like, I've lost everything, and the jury's just kind of staring at her like,
that's not a good sign.
I was just like, she is done. Like, she can't get that emotion going on this.
Where are those tears, man? This is $100 million.
It's kind of no wonder she's having problems getting
You're
cast.
all about money, Amber.
But it's also, if the jury was remotely with her, I would have expected them to sort of have some more interest on that.
Yeah.
And
again, you never know. But
the jury started out very attentive when she was, when she went up for direct. But pretty soon I started seeing juror A rolls his eyes. Juror E gave some side eye. Juror B moved on to playing with his pen. Juror C sighs, and I was, sleeping. So I'm like, this is not a great set of signs. But then it was okay.
Signs. And again, for all of you that are new here, because I know there are so many of you here, I've been a licensed attorney for 17 years. I'm a former litigator, over 10 years of doing court work as a prosecutor. Runkle is a defense attorney, so you've done jury work. So this is not just us guessing at what juries do. I mean, it is, but it's also based on experience. Those are educated guesses based on the things we've witnessed in our own cases. So when you're like, this is a bad sign, normally you see people have some empathy for those on the stands that they like and listen. I've seen jurors cry in court during heart-wrenching testimony in criminal cases. Even when they're trying not to, you can see tears rolling down with nothing else on their face, because when they feel it, they feel it. And yesterday, the chat got still. Like when Johnny Depp was testifying, everything got kind of still, and people were like, I felt that. When Amber Heard was testifying, people were like, I'm not feeling this, until the very end when she talked about her career. That is where I felt that she was like, the harassment online, that is where I felt genuine and true emotion from her.
Yeah, and
that's the only type of emotion she showed.
When they finished and were passing it over for cross-examination, I watched jurors kind of waking up and sort of
Uh,
getting that we're interested in what's about to happen next kind of thing, which is also not good because
Yep.
I mean
You
these are
should be
very
ignoring Cross
serious, very
if you're the
shocking, very
jury
sympathetic
for Amber Heard,
allegations.
right? Like
If
that's
you are on board with this, what I would normally expect to see is first jurors being moved by emotion when she's doing her direct, but also jurors tend to identify, with people they feel sympathetic to. So I would expect what you often see is defense counsel getting up to cross-examine somebody who's making those kinds of allegations, and usually you see jurors just like hate staring them,
yep, they
like
get
just we hate you before you've even opened your mouth. And that was not what I was seeing. I was seeing them getting up and sort of leaning forward in their chair. Juror I, who's mostly been checked out, wakes up. He's ready to listen. And I'm
oh, that's
oh,
not good at
for Amber
all.
Heard's case, because when the jury, because yes, that's been my experience
That's
too. When
not
you have
good.
a victim that the jury's looking at, the defense attorney gets up to cross and has to be very mindful because the jury already hates you for cross-examining someone that they feel a great deal of empathy towards. But if the jury's
Yep.
looking at Camille going, "Go get her, girl," then you've got a big problem if you are Team Heard. Even if
That's an
the
understatement.
elements of defamation have
That
always
is
been in Team
a
Heard's favor,
huge
but if they lose
understatement.
it on the facts, the jury has room to find defamation, particularly with that tweet, which you and I agree on. I thought it was
Yep.
very interesting that Rottenborn asked about every type of abuse and did not
Except
specifically
that.
sexual abuse.
Yep.
And that
I
very interesting.
was like, wow, that is a hell of an omission.
I thought he would take
Um,
the end of the list because it's so heavy. And I was shocked that he did not include it. That was not a mistake. That
was strategy
choice.
right there.
yeah,
It was
and
strategic.
I think that their
He knew
argument
not to bring
on
it
the
up.
end, at the end of things,
He knew it.
is probably going to be listen. You can find that she's been abused, and you should find that she did not republish this tweet, like that she did not republish the headline. I think they're going to lean heavily into that in the cross. It's going to be a technical argument, but it might be a winner. If the jury agrees that that is the way the law should be interpreted, and maybe if they get a jury instruction that's favorable in that regard, I mean, they could still have a scenario where nobody walks away with any money.
Yes.
I don't see a scenario based on the jurors' reactions today. I will be stunned if Amber walks away with $1 in her favor. Just stunned. But
yeah.
I mean, I've been wrong before on
But,
verdicts, and it may happen
It is
again.
a defamation
but
trial.
I don't see her walking
There could
away
be
with even a shiny
pro Amber
dollar
Heard jurors,
awarded to her.
but it's the
At
way
this
that jury
point, I
was
think they're playing for
reacting.
zero. And
As Runkle
split
the
because
Bailey
we've
has
got
said,
law squarely on Amber Heard's side. Fact, facts and push
yeah.
side.
Yep. I mean, Depp walked in and had a 0% chance when he walked in, was my assessment. It was like, he's running this thing. I've looked at the law on this. He's going to lose. Like, just straight up, he's going to lose. And then the facts started coming out, and I went, this is actually a thing, right? There's going to be an actual issue on this. So, and now I'm leaning quite heavily to, I think I think he's substantially more likely than not to walk away with money. And we may see in closing an
And
argument
his name cleared.
for
That's the one.
give
That's the
Depp
main thing Johnny
$1.
Depp wants is.
And I
have
think
his
that
name
might be a
cleared. He don't care
powerful
about the
position
money.
because ultimately, you can tell the jury it's not about the money. We want the $1 just so that the world knows that, that Johnny Depp, is a victim.
Tell
They
the
can
world, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, tell the world that Johnny Depp, a man, is a victim of domestic violence.
That's how I would word it.
And they can just ride that audio clip because it's so powerful. But I think even if they put the $1 pitch to the jury might go might hear $1 and think 7 million. I kind of stick to that number just because it's got that sort of poetry to it that the jury might latch onto.
Yep.
And like this is a big deal for them. I had notes. Most of the jurors were doing that ping pong thing during the cross examination.
Oh
They
boy.
look to counsel, they look to the answer, they look to counsel, and that means you've got them. That is where you want the jury to be when you're doing a cross examination. You want them doing that.
Like tennis. It should look like tennis.
Yeah.
Did did on cross examination did I lost my question. Go ahead, Runkle. I'm sorry. I completely lost my question. This is why I take notes, because ADHD. This is what you get when you get the two ADHD lawyer kids of YouTube together. We just
I really like the let's give you that context line that Camille had. I was like, that is smooth and that is crushing.
What did you think of side by side photos?
I was just like, how does she think anybody's buying these answers? The answers were so bad. She was so combative and weaselly. She was denying her own testimony, and she was doing that repeatedly. The side by side photos of, like you said, these are 2 different days.
How did her
Come on.
how did her attorneys allow her to walk into that position, admitting those with such staggeringly
Yeah.
different evidence numbers so much later in testimony to
Terrible.
be admitted as
How do
the
you-
same thing?
How
And
do
then
you
Amber Heard
let
was trying
her
to get
walk
cheeky
into
with
that?
the metadata.
Hey, how
saying,
do you not
"Well,
object
uncover
to that?"
the metadata, and then we can see. The jury
Yeah.
can those are the same fucking photo.
Yeah, the jury doesn't need the
Did I-
Yeah, I
metadata
mean, they were just obviously the same
at
photo.
all. It's the same
And,
photo edited in
There's a
2016.
point where
That's
juror
what
A actually
happened.
started to tune out a bit, and I think during the cross examination, and I don't read that as he was losing, interest in the cross examination so much as just a stop. She's already dead.
We're done. We're done. We get it. We get
Like,
it. We
come
get
on,
it. Can we
okay,
be done
she's
now?
dead. What more do you want?
I really liked her demeanor on cross, though. I thought she held
That
her
evidence,
own on cross.
though. Let's give you context. Denying your own
Amber?
testimony.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I
gotta give my
think she got
reflections.
slaughtered on that cross.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
She got more than
She
slaughtered.
had so many moments where she was so combative and so refusing to accept the most obvious things put to her.
Obviously.
The gallery was gasping repeatedly. And of course, the jury is going to hear that. The other thing I will note is that on redirect, I think it's Rottenborn. I'm terrible with names.
It is Rottenborn, and I liked the change from Elaine to Rottenborn. Elaine has done all of Amber Heard's other testimony. I thought it was a better dynamic. I thought Rottenborn should have been the attorney doing her direct this entire case. It was a much better dynamic. I didn't like that they called each other by their first names. It felt weird, but I liked the dynamic better.
But when he said, there's nothing about any evidence, or you would agree that none of this evidence is fake, the judge looked like she was going to come over the table and smack him. She was like giving him an angry glare. And there's a reason for that, which is that counsel have some ethical obligations.
Yep.
And my read on that judge's reaction, and she's been very, very good about her, like her face has typically either been neutral or smiling. She hasn't adopted a lot of angry expressions. That she had an angry expression on, and I think she was like, my read on that was like, how dare you in my courtroom? How dare you? And I was just going, whoo. And afterwards, she's like, right as soon as that was finished, she's like, I'll talk to counsel now at my, I went, okay, I would love to hear this. Of course, white noise machine, you can't hear anything, but I was wondering if that was a discussion about, are you sure that was a question you wanted to ask?
And
are you real sure?
This is not a line of argument you're going down tomorrow in closing, because that contradicts the evidence. But we also get, in closing, you can get objections. So you can get that moment where either Ben Chu or Camille is like, objection, misstates the evidence, misstates the testimony if they go down that road, and they're going to have to do it.
Yeah, the thing is they were not doing well with their forensic, their forensic evidence. And I thought Hughes kind of ended up being a no points draw. Hughes didn't look good. She came off as whiny, but they didn't really land that really telling punch on Hughes, the knockout punch on Hughes. Hughes came back and sort of was whatever you had decided about the Hughes versus Curry, you're going to walk out with the same thing at the end of that. But
Jury responded in there because her testimony felt like I was being lectured by a teacher I hated. And that was across the screen. I don't know what the jury felt, but how did they respond to Hughes? Because she was like, as I said, as I told you. I'm like, are you per my last emailing the jury right now? What is happening?
Juror H was shaking her head at several points. That's the older woman there. So the jurors were interested, but I don't think that anybody was super persuaded. The metadata expert I thought was even more interesting because they get him to that point where he's sort of going, well, yes, these are two images that the metadata says were taken at exactly the same time, at exactly the same place, with the same file name. And, it sort of comes down to, well, I'm an expert. You should believe me, notwithstanding this complete ridiculous position I'm taking. I think they just, like, the jurors sort of going.
I thought it was really powerful that was redacted earlier and then was like the reveal that they unredacted it during this witness close in time to the jury going back to deliberate. And I thought that was really interesting. It was like, ta-da, they're the same photo, which we kind of knew because you did a video on this with photos.
And the question I would have loved to have had that metadata for that video because holy crap.
Video, obviously.
The one question I wish they'd asked just as a follow-up there is, they have the same file name. Isn't it the case that the phone takes photos with sequential file names? Mm-hmm. They increment the number each time. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
So wouldn't this indicate that had not been another photograph taken, but in fact the same photograph? I think that would have been good, but I am nitpicking here because that was an excellent cross. And as much as you can say, hey, I could have put one more layer of polish on it, I'm sort of saying, hey, the brass could have been a little bit shinier. And yeah, I can't come in and say, hey, that was a mistake. I can just say, I think it would have been one more, a good question to ask.
They leaned into time. They leaned into time down to the second. And I think I wonder if they didn't know what this expert would answer if they asked that question. And on cross, you really don't want to ask a question you don't know the answer to. So it might just have been Dennison leaning into this, a lay person can understand, and this cannot bite me. This expert can't try to have another explanation because time, minute, second is just what it is.
And any explanation he can come up with is going to sound dumb. That's the great place that you want to be on these things. It's just, oh, sure, you have an explanation. It just makes you look even dumber that you're trying to explain this fact away. I thought, like, when I heard that they were going to call Amber, I was like, this is a desperation play because she did not play well the first time. She did not hold up to cross well the first time. And, there is no reason to give Camille another round of, hands tied behind your back boxing is really what that felt like, is that Amber Heard had nothing, and I'm just like, why would you give her another shot unless you feel that you are super in desperation mode? Now, the other possibility is I think Amber Heard has been running the show a lot behind the scenes, and Amber might have been, so this might have been a desperation play, or it might have been Amber saying, well, Johnny Depp testified again. I'm going to do the same thing. And she should have gone, Johnny Depp testified again, and it was a mistake. And maybe I don't want to make the same mistake. And I mean, I think Depp did okay on that, but it was a mistake for him to get up on the stand. I think that they lost some on that. Now, whatever gains that the Heard team made on Depp were erased today. Nobody's going to remember.
That's the red.
Nobody's going to remember anything, anything that they got on Depp. It's such a in parallel like day one to day. Oh no, oh, there we go. It's such a striking, the contrast between them. It's night and day. Depp, there's places where maybe he's too argumentative, or he's not really answering the question he's asked. Amber Heard, you just can't find a place where she's actually trying to answer the question in a way that seems honest. Everything is so combative, so refusing to accept even the most simple propositions that are put to her. It's
Photos of her and Rocky Pennington. The photos where it looks like she's not wearing mascara, eyeliner, or any makeup, and she's like, "I'm obviously wearing makeup." It's like, are these the same photo? Because you're saying I'm obviously wearing makeup, and I'm looking at a woman who is blessed with beautiful skin and looks good with no makeup on. What did you think of that? Can you tell from where you were sitting in the gallery on the screens?
On the screens, it's a little tough, at least from where I'm sitting, because I've either got to stare at a screen that's across the room, or I'm sort of craning up because I've sort of positioned myself for best view of the jury.
Yeah.
The jury actually has screens right in front of them. So yeah, so that is kind of its own thing.
What did you think Camille walking off while Amber Heard was still talking? She closed her binder and went, "I have nothing further," and Amber Heard is still answering her question, and she just walked off.
I think that Amber Heard's insistence on over editorializing was not playing well, and I thought that was a bit of a power move. She's really dunking on that behavior. I gotta say, I am such a fan of Camille's. It is just, she absolutely has better things to do at this point with her career, but she could teach an entire class on cross-examination, and it would be the class that everyone is fighting to get into. And the people with first priority on registration would be still not getting into that class and feeling really upset about it. It's so crystalline that it's just hard to even find, it's hard to make any notes on it. It's hard to say this is something I would have done or would have liked to have seen. It's just phenomenal. And the other thing is just how, even when they're trying to break her stride on cross-examination, because there's a lot of people who do really good crosses, but an objection will just throw them aside, and they have 5-10 minutes of trying to get that stride back again.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why judges would go off if your cell phone rings during the other side's cross. It's you can't break the other side's flow like that. It's really important. They couldn't shake her. They couldn't break her flow at all, and they tried. They tried with sidebars. They tried with everything, and she just has the inevitability of a giant rock rolling down a hill, and trying to interrupt that feels like walking out and just trying to stop that rock by putting your hand out. They're just
not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
She right up, and that is not just well prepared, but that is a skill to be able to think on your feet like that she is unshakable. You might take a breath or two to just reset and ask the next question, but she does not take much time and was not shakable. And again, in cross, the important part is the questions, and Camille's questions were fantastic. She asks great questions, and the answers at the end, Camille said these answers don't matter, so much so that I'm closing my binder and walking off. I felt like Amber Heard wanted to take the power of the closing argument out of her lawyer's hands and look and argue to the jury. And Camille said she's arguing to the jury. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have a real hard time crafting a close that can fix any of that. They're going to listen to the close and they're going to remember Amber from the day before. It's so damaging. It's so bad. I mean, my comment on Twitter was basically just, I just witnessed a murder.
Yikes.
It was such a brutally effective thing. And I don't know how they,
let me just go over this. I'm still. I know you see me on camera, kind of just laying back. I have a little keyboard down on this other table I have. It's a smaller one, and I'm trying to write down some reflections because, holy crap! Listen, that was a power move because Amber Heard was trying to steal that power and make her own closing argument. And she's like, no, you're not going to argue to the jury like that. And you're not going to steal my thunder. I'm Camille fucking Vasquez, all right? I'm the boss-ass queen. Boss cross queen, bitch. That's who I am. I'm a boss-ass queen. I'm a boss. And she is. Oh, my God. And I can't imagine how Rottenborn and Needlehoff and Elaine Bredelhoff and all these other dumbasses on her team are going to manage making that argument. You have to make Rottenborn do it. Make it. But even crafting it, because she just made it so difficult. And when you have a client that's either uncooperative or they take it so far out of the scope that you're going, what the f do we do? They're going to have such a tough time. They really are.
But I'm really curious about the jury instructions because there's a whole lot of battles. And, chat, if you've never sort of dealt with this, a lot of court cases are won and lost on jury instructions, because if you can get a good jury instruction, that's, if you remember during Rittenhouse, we had this whole big discussion about which jury instructions they got, because it's a big deal. And, so I want to see some of that, because I'm expecting a jury instruction about, say, solicitor-client privilege.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
And she was trying to craft an instruction to not allow the jury to draw a negative inference, meaning that we think that Team Heard is trying to argue, look, everyone's protecting this powerful man. We heard Amber Heard alluding to that argument on the stand. Everyone's trying to protect him, but they can't lean into that on Waldman not answering questions because of privilege, because it's improper to argue it, and the jury can't draw negative inference, meaning they can't hold it against Depp. And Ben Chu is asking to craft a specific instruction. And so we'll see if we get it. The instructions are the manual for the jury to decide this case. It's their playbook. It's their rule book. It's all they have to go on most of the time. And depending on what you get, it's important. We also know there's the outstanding issue of that motion for sanctions regarding turning over digital evidence in violation of the court order or not. And that is likely being argued on jury instructions too. What else do you think they're still arguing over?
I'm just trying to think. The jury, I think that the sanctions issue is going to be a huge one, because there's been a lot of arguments about metadata and faked images and all of that. And with the jury, if they get an instruction saying, listen, you guys need to know that the Depp's team did not get all the metadata because it was required to be turned over by Heard's team, and they refused or failed to do so. Oh man, that's like right after
it's catastrophic.
That's a knife in the heart.
Yeah, it would be done. It would be absolutely instruction can be devastating, but that jury instruction is supposed to be devastating to incentivize attorneys to not pull fuckery in discovery. That's the point. That jury instruction is, it really is the stick of saying you can do this, because a lot of attorneys are like, well, if you find me, you find me. If I still win, whatever. It can cost their case having an instruction like that, telling the jury this side did this and it hurt the other side, is devastating.
And I mean, we may see Ben Chu in there citing the case of fuck around v find out. And
wonderful. I'm feeling that immediately. Fuck around, be find out. We need to come
I've actually been planning on putting that on shirts for a while, because it comes up so often.
We can do a Canadian case site for it. I can fashion a U.S. case site for it. We can do
there you go.
format, or it's going to be fantastic. Oh my God. We need a case site for Fuck Around V Find Out. Runkle, that's yours. It's brilliant. I love that so much.
It's just because I mean that's really what's coming up is just like, well, you guys decided to play with fire. Oh no, who could have expected that this could burn down your own house?
And Judge A has been firm. And if you're ignoring Judge A's orders, and what we learned yesterday when we were talking to Rob that I had not realized through this case, she's the site judge. Like, she's the top boss judge at this courthouse. So if you are going to cross her, not only is there a bit of setting an example for the other judges, but there's also a bit of, look, just because I'm not screaming at you doesn't mean you're not wrong. And judges can be very pleasant, so firm.
She's so effective at the pleasant but firm thing. Like I've lots of judges will get snarky or snippy or mean, and I haven't seen that from her. As I said, when I saw her glaring at Rottenborn there, that was the most like angry I've ever seen her. Usually she's just like, okay, I said sustained. And that's, it's a very polite way of saying, did I fucking stutter? But,
my ruling, Elaine.
Yeah, it's very, but it's very effective. Nobody crosses her. Nobody, she's got an iron grip on that courthouse or in that courtroom. I am just so impressed with her work.
Really great to watch.
It's
been great to watch her in this trial for this long. It's been really, really nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'm really sad about is that I don't practice here and won't ever, run a case in front of her because she just seems, even losing in front, she seems really amazing in terms of the control she's got, the way she handles things, the fairness. Like she's a model for judges. And I gotta say, I've been really impressed with, this is
all right, I gotta comment on this because no, I don't buy that. Maybe yes, but I don't buy that. This judge has a double standard, and in law that's not something you can have. And I know that I know that there's this, hey, you gotta be ethical and things like that. Yes. And this and that and I agree, but this judge doesn't. There were obvious beyond the scopes, hearsay, objections, non-responsive, speculation, lack of foundation, compound, whatever you get. I've learned a lot of terms during this trial. Lots of lawyerly talk. This judge absolutely had a double standard because, like I said, there were a lot of those objections that I just listed. I'm not going to list them again. That Amber Heard's team caught, and she really didn't. She sustained like 99.99999999999% of them. 999. When Johnny Depp's team called it, it was like 20-30%. Sustained the objection. You cannot tell me that she doesn't have a double standard. If you are coming to me and you argue, let me put these on. If you're coming to me and you argue that there is no double standard here, I'm sorry, but you've got problems. You need to go seek psychological help. And I know, and you know, I know, and you know, that there are problems when judges have these double standard issues. And yes, she might have been calm about it. She just said, hey, I said fucking move on. Did I stutter, bitch? She just said, I sustain the objection. I sustain it. Move on. Let's just move forward. Okay, that is a good thing about it. She is firm, but she doesn't have to be, hey, that's what I said. I've also seen judges get like that. Different court cases I've watched. I'm not a lawyer. I've gone to different court cases here in person, and judges can get like that, and it feels tense in the room when they do that. But again, the double standard thing is something I'm never going to stop arguing. I'm never going to get over. How can you be in support of one team and not the other? Or one team and say that you're an ethical judge. Like I said, someone needs to go get her with facts. Someone needs to debench her. Someone needs to do something. These lawyers are being too complimentary. And this is why you watch channels like mine, because I give you the news. I give you the truth. Now, whether it's sports, like here on this channel, because this is a sports channel. I got an email today from YouTube that my appeal was unsuccessful because they're motherfuckers and they're stupid-ass bitches. They're shitty. Listen, I give you the truth. The truth is this judge was good. She was good, but she wasn't an incredible judge. The one that I thought was really good was, I don't remember his name, but the guy in the Georgia case, the judge with the Ahmaud Arbery killers, he was awesome. Absolutely. But this judge had a double standard. Everyone saw the double standard. They're deciding, let's just ignore it because of all this woke shit. No, don't ignore that shit. You can't ignore a double standard. I'm sorry, but that just, it made me mad and I had to come back and argue that.
I try to jog in there. I will, I'll be streaming later to talk about sort of some of these impressions. What, if anything, we learn about jury instructions. And she's gotten into my head.
All right.
And
Again, Runkle of the Bailey on YouTube and on Twitter. I will give you shout outs. We will link you down in the description. Go back to court, because if they don't televise it, we need to know. If they do televise it, we're just staying here right now. So thank you, Runkle, for joining us. Go back to court. Thank you so much. All right. And that was Runkle. I'm going to see if court starts televising this. If they do, we're just going to stay on. And if they don't, we'll switch streams. Normally I switch to an afternoon stream. I don't know how much time we're going to have. So we're just going to stay here and see. What happens. If they start televising, we are going to stay here and go through jury instructions and what it means and what it is. If they just put on the white noise and go up to the bench, we're just going to see what happens. So, why not? We're just going to see what happens. Who needs lunch? Chat, thank you so much. I will have to message Dr. B. You see me looking up. My window is over here, and we're getting some stormy season through here. So thank you guys on the road to 550. Very, very much appreciate you. I would have normally split to the afternoon stream, but again, I don't know what the afternoon will hold in this case. And you've heard Runkle's opinion and mine. We are going to have some differences of opinion about whose fault it is with the experts. And did they ask him for a crap task? Though he is like, well, then the expert should have not taken the money. And I'm like, that is a very fair point. However, I also understand that people are going to take money. I am going to keep the court feed up and see if they resume. And I promised I would pull up that jury instruction. But first, I'm going to go to the super chats and try to get through some of them right now. Let's just keep the court feed. Oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. I was not expecting this, and I'm
they're
thrilled.
going to televise it.
Let's go ahead and start with jury instructions since they're almost all done.
Yes.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. I already have them in a potential order, but let's go ahead and go through them. One thing I'll do for the record
They
first.
should be going by number.
Plaintiff's 287, which is the same as defendant's 780T, is a corrupted file that we received from both of you. I guess it's corrupted on both of them. And nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. So I think it might just be that it's in evidence. However, it's not going to go back to the jury because it's corrupted. Okay, does everybody agree to that?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. It's
Okay.
just an Eastern Columbia building video, so that's fine.
That's just, it's corrupt. Okay, do you have more exhibits to give?
Your mic,
Good.
Elaine.
Look at Jamie here.
Your mic. I love watching the judge work and watching how she does her work.
All right.
This is the nuts and bolts of lawyering.
All right, so these.
Different than the fun court stuff.
Make sure.
This is the heart of it.
All right, it's defendants 393,
I'm gonna see if there's a feed with a split screen.
821, 857, 857A, 883, 1859, 1905. Sure that's nothing. It's the second page of that. 1050.
And if I lose you guys, we have a storm coming through, so I'm gonna put this in real quick.
Seems to be a longer one. Hold on.
All right, and I just wanted to peek in on the gallery and see how many people we had in
And
the
I think
gallery.
that
I
is
find all
it,
this
correct?
distracting. So
All right, are you missing any other exhibits?
Runkle's back in the
Your
gallery.
Honor, I may approach.
Yes,
We
you have some?
from
Okay.
today.
Let's
Yes.
go ahead and get those.
They're asking to approach because you don't just walk up through the well onto the bench. It's not an approach, have a conversation or a sidebar. They're just asking to approach to hand.
All right,
the
so
court
these were the
tanks, which is appropriate.
two, three. Oh, these. All right, so we have, okay, I think this one's theirs. All right, so I have plaintiff's exhibit 1316 and 1317. Yeah. 1301, does anybody have 1301? Plaintiff's 1301? An Instagram post.
Judge's face
We'll
is
get
up.
it, Your Honor.
711A and 711B, the one without the metadata, one with the metadata showing. It was the same pictures, but it showed the metadata.
I believe
It
that
was
was
the big
712A and 712 and 713A.
Yes, I don't have those. We just don't have them, 712 and 713A.
Understood. Okay.
Can I get them now? Trying to get all the exhibits together right now, so we have them all together so we can review them.
We're trying to get a stack. So they're trying to put together the thousands of exhibits that they have to make sure that not a single number's missing. So when it goes to the jury
Is
will
it
get a
David?
list of exhibits and what it is
So 120D
And then
was
the jury's
listed as,
going
you
to
had it
get
as an
a
evidence, but we
computer
do not have it in
that has all of the digital evidence on it. And then they're going to get a stack of photos and other evidence to go
All
through
right.
with a, like a,
Is that
list
all the
of
pieces of
the
evidence? Excellent.
I love the way she said excellent.
Good. Okay, so we are very
Excellent.
close to getting all of that. I don't want to leave here until we have every piece of evidence with Jamie and everybody has reviewed it.
No
so we
one
don't
is
have to
leaving
do that
until I get my
tomorrow
evidence.
and
Kids.
waste time with that.
And I'm going to try to make that.
All right, so
that's
now I
making
think
me
we can
too
do
big.
jury instructions, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Let me just go over the ones that we had a few issues with.
Yes. This is the interesting stuff because this is the stuff that
At
matters.
the first one I'm going to go over is the self-defense. There's two,
Interesting.
that would be number 28 and 29, correct? And I took those under advisement. Do you still have an objection to the self-defense? All right. So what evidence do we have in trial that would allow to have these two jury instructions?
A self-defense instruction
Sure,
in a
Your Honor.
defamation
So
case.
I think the evidence, there's evidence in the record showing that, Mr. Waldman was Mr. Depp's agent, that, he was retained in connection with the UK litigation and with this litigation.
Who was that?
There's evidence that he engaged with third parties in that capacity, that he met with the Daily Mail with Mr. Depp, and that he believed Mr. Depp's version of events. And so I think all of that, is relevant evidence to a self-defense, that Mr. Waldman made those statements in self-defense on behalf of Mr. Depp,
All right. So you're saying if agency is found,
if agency is found.
We believe they're inappropriate, Your Honor. First of all, we have not been able to locate case law, but
we
I would-
found one
not
from
be any.
1860.
That might have been-
1887.
And I know I had seen one a
We said it
while
was a
back.
reversible error if you didn't give the self-defense one, so.
Well,
Reversible error means
I
it's
know
bad.
I'd taken a look at one a while back. I think, but I don't have a case site for you. I think it's a question of law as to whether it applies. So at a minimum, I think we should figure that
Question
out,
of
I
law,
guess.
not
But
a-
the reason we don't think it should apply
Question of law means the judge
is
decides not
these
the
were
jury.
statements that were made by Mr. Waldman in 2020. I guess it was before Ms. Heard's counterclaim. So if he's saying that
Oh.
It
he's
goes to the op-ed, I
His
think.
statements are
understood.
defensive.
So if
with
he's saying
regard to
that
the op-ed.
it's this
Interesting.
lawsuit was a statement in response to the op-ed. Statements that were made a year and a half later by Mr. Waldman, and it doesn't, again, Your Honor, the key words are fairly and reasonably. So obviously both sides are going to argue defamatory implication and what did the op-ed really mean, and did it say these things? But saying, even under their theory, 2 years ago I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, to say that then it's fair for Mr. Waldman a year and a half later to make public statements that Amber and her friends roughed up the place and spilled a little wine, all the things that he said in those statements, that's not fairly and reasonably. Ms. Heard responded fairly and reasonably to Mr. Depp's case but through her counterclaim. The parties can speak to each other in the
Is
courtroom here,
Waldman's
but
statement
saying that if someone makes a
a fair
statement
and reasonable
in an op-ed,
response
that then you can go and launch,
to
do whatever you
Heard's
want
statement?
for 2 years, say whatever you want. And
Rottenborn
obviously,
argues
there's
the
only
law
3
well.
statements that comprise the counterclaim. But as the evidence has shown, it was part of a pattern by Mr. Waldman. It was, I mean, it's the opposite of proportionate. It's the opposite of fair and reasonable response.
Okay.
Mr. Depp's opportunity for a fair and reasonable response, well, we don't believe it was either, but he had the
Rottenborn argues
opportunity
the
to
law
file a
well.
lawsuit in this court.
Right.
Where was this
To
Rottenborn on
have Mr. Waldman be
cross-examination?
his attack dog and to say anything Mr. Waldman then says as his attack dog is somehow fair and reasonable and entitled to the privilege is inappropriate. And I do think that before Your Honor gives it, we need to confirm whether it's a question of law.
Okay.
Your Honor, Mr. Rottenborn noted that this lawsuit was a response to the op-ed, but I think there could be multiple statements in response to the op-ed. So I think that's not dispositive of anything. And the statements were clearly a direct response to Ms. Heard's allegations on their face. And whether that response was fair and reasonable is a jury question.
I don't, what do you say is the matter of law? The privilege of self-defense is a matter of law?
I think it could be whether it applies.
Okay,
As a
well,
matter
I
of law
think-
means the judge
I don't think it's
decides,
a
not
matter
the
of law. I
jury.
think it's whether or not
So
there is
tonight on
any
that.
evidence that a jury could find it being protected speech, not the weight of the evidence, but if there is any evidence. And I don't think it's my role
Decide.
to
Yep.
weigh that evidence as far as
The
how
jury's
long
role.
it was made afterwards.
I think it is, Your Honor. I mean, it can't be the case that
She just said
anytime there's an alleged death, this is why this doesn't come up often, because this just isn't given. If it were appropriate
Her
here,
face.
every time there's a defamation case, this would be an instruction. Even the person who's the
This is a
defendant in the
unique
case would
case.
say, well, all I said, I was
So-
responding to something that was said before.
So all your evidence that you say goes to the jury are just the statements? That's why this should be given?
Oh,
boy.
danger,
That he made the
danger,
statements, that's the only evidence?
Danger,
Well,
danger.
I think
You gave me evidence
Abort!
of agency, but that's
Abort!
just agency.
Abort!
Do you have any evidence that of self-defense, that he actually said these statements because of what she said?
Well, I think there's
Danger.
circumstantial evidence, at least, that so it's agency. He's an attorney who was retained in connection with this litigation and the UK litigation.
That doesn't automatically give you self-defense, though, a privilege of self-defense.
No, it doesn't.
They're still arguing he wasn't acting as Depp's agent.
That's-
So
that's
now
all.
they
You have to
argue
make
both
them,
sides.
I have to have some evidence that the statements were made in response to the direct accusations
isn't.
of Ms. Heard. And just some evidence,
On their face, they appear to be a direct
Yeah, they
response.
appear.
not the statements themselves, but is there any other evidence
Is there
No,
evidence?
Because their evidence is
the statements fairly
denying
arose
that
in
he made the
response
statements.
to Ms. Heard's accusation?
Double-edged sword. This is a
Did
double-edged
anybody
sword.
testify?
This is a
that
problem here.
That he made these statements in response to her op-ed?
Judge A.
No.
There isn't. There isn't.
Not that I'm aware of, Your
Because
Honor.
there isn't.
All right.
Because there's
Because it
not.
goes against
Your
your
Honor,
theory.
just one small point there. There's no requirement that it be in response to the op-ed in
She just told
particular.
you there
The
was.
question for self-defense to apply is simply whether it's made in response to an allegation against Mr. Depp.
No.
And Mr. Walden's evidence is clear, I think, that he was responding to allegations against Mr. Depp, and he believed those allegations to be false. There was extensive evidence in the record on that, in fact, I think.
That he was responding to. So if it's not the op-ed, then we're really in murky ground. If he says, well, I was responding to what she said in 2016, that's,
Well,
Judge A.
what
Rottenborn.
Mr. Muniz is saying is that you take it as a separate case. You take it as a separate case, their
They
claim
are
and then your
arguing
counterclaim. So your counterclaim is a
Jury
separate
instructions.
standalone case.
And Judge A
Right.
is asking
oh,
great
Okay.
questions.
So the standalone case doesn't, your claim doesn't deal with the op-ed. So they're saying in defense of your case,
When she's looking over here, she's
That's why
talking to
this comes
Heard's
in.
table and Rottenborn. When she's
But
looking over here, she's
he
talking
couldn't
to
have made
Depp's
it. He
table.
couldn't have made the statements in defense of our case because these are the basis for our case. So what
N-
he had to have been, what was he responding to if it wasn't the op-ed? And if it's not the op-ed, then we're really in murky ground because there's no, plus, Your
Right.
Honor, a couple points.
He's right.
To your point, there's been no testimony that he made these in self-defense to anything. Two, the defense doesn't apply. And this is,
well,
this is under the Haycock's case, 1958. It doesn't apply if we prove malice. So it has to be made in good faith and without malice. So it's, Coextensive, I could bring the case up if you want. Your Honor.
Jury instructions
So if
matter
the malice
so
inquiry incorporates this,
much, 'cause
this
it's
is
how
the,
jury decides this case.
let's see, 200 Virginia 212.
Team Depp is
Haycox versus
asking
Wilcox
for an
Dunn.
instruction that it's not
And it looks
defamatory
like
if it's made in
on
response.
page 8,
Team Heard is
sorry,
trying to keep it out.
231, they're discussing a
I think Team
Massachusetts
Heard might be
case,
right.
and
So
that
this is talking
says,
about defamation, not self-defense.
statements
and
made
like,
in an honest endeavor to vindicate one's
physical
character or
assault
to
of
protect
crimes.
one's interests are usually regarded as qualifiedly privileged, even though they are false, if they are made in good faith and without malice. So the malice inquiry takes
I
care
think
of this.
Rottenborn should win this.
And
I think so too, and I hate to admit it.
in
I
addition,
think
I
that
don't think I need to remind the court, but
Rottenborn
for the
argues the
record,
law
if he was
really, really
responding
well.
to his
Mr. Waldman
son,
was
they
not allowed
don't.
to answer
If
any
this was
questions.
Elaine, yeah,
Right.
Johnny
So
Depp
to
would
say,
win
well,
this. But
you know,
I
they could have been
think
making it in defense of something. They could
for
let him answer
this jury
questions and get
instruction
that evidence
here,
on the record. They can't say, well,
where the
he could
one's
have been
wanting
making it in
self-defense, the
defense
other
of
saying
something now.
it's not a
And when I
response.
say, just looking at
Rottenborn
your
will
case,
win.
you're claiming these alleged defamation.
I'm going to keep
the
trying
three
to
we have
explain these
allegations.
while we're talking.
Well, they're saying in response that they made them because of something she said that maybe is not the op-ed.
Then there's no evidence of what that is. She responds, she
But
was
could the
sued. She
jury
said, she said,
reasonably
she said
find?
2016 when she made her,
Mhm.
then 2018, she has the op-ed that have, you know, a couple words that they're trying to turn into what we've just seen for the last 6 weeks. And then she responded to the lawsuit.
OMG,
So
Rottenborn.
it can't be the case that by trying to defend yourself in a lawsuit that was brought against you, if it's not the op-ed, then it's got to be her statements in the lawsuit. That somehow trying to defend yourself through judicially immune
Or it's the
statements in a
UK.
lawsuit entitles someone else to go out and
Chat,
say
y'all are
whatever they
already on
want
top of
and
it.
then try to veil
You're on
themselves
top
in
of it.
privilege.
It was the UK.
Counsel for Ms. Heard made a point of making clear that there was extensive allegations about Mr. Depp circulating. They repeatedly brought up the UK action, which was in fact the context in which I believe these statements were made based on the date. It was very close in time to the UK action.
Well, the chat
They
got
brought
there
up the
faster
Dan
than y'all
Wooten
did.
article. These allegations date back to 2016. These allegations are out there, and there's there's evidence, from which the jury could find that Mr. Waldman was acting in defense of Mr. Depp.
Chat,
We
y'all
were
got there
acting
so
in
fast.
defense against Ms. Heard's accusations. So what are Ms. Heard's accusations that would be defense?
Correct, because
that are
in the
evidence?
UK trial, they weren't heard.
Your Honor, there has been extensive evidence of the accusations against Mr. Depp going back to 2016. For example, the Dan Wooten article that they raised in evidence prior to the op-ed, which included the word wife beater, and was essentially,
But it has to be.
That's not Ms. Heard's statements.
Ms. Heard's statements.
I don't believe that's correct, Your Honor. It doesn't have to be
Against Ms. Heard's accusations, it
Ben
is.
Chu is
It
trying to get in
correct.
there.
That would be crazy, Your Honor,
And
if they
she
get a
keeps saying
jury
People
instruction
magazine.
because he was
I
responding.
understand.
Yeah, again, the number of allegations made by Ms. Heard, it's been very well documented in this case. You have the op-ed, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be any
wondering
one
how
particular
nice it
allegation. You
is
have the
to
op-ed,
have a team
you
to
have
argue
People
jury
magazine article,
instructions.
you have the republication of her statements through the wife beater and the Dan Wooten article. You have the fact that she was giving testimony in the UK action about these issues.
Well, then
I'm
would
riveted.
you agree that actual malice, you don't get the self-defense if there's actual malice in his statements? If the jury finds actual malice, then you don't get,
If the jury finds actual malice,
then it's not protected
that may
speech.
obviate the privilege, but that doesn't mean that the privilege is not applicable or a valid.
But the only way they
jurisdiction.
can find in this case is if there is actual malice. This goes back to their defense, slap defense as well. The only way they find defamatory statements in this case is if there's actual malice. And that's unique to
Judge
this
cuts the
case, I
heart of it.
understand that. But so if they find actual malice and defamatory statements, you
done.
don't have protected speech privilege.
And if there's no actual malice, they win.
Yes,
So-
correct. The same with
Correct.
this, that's why we're not
Correct.
giving a
Correct.
jury instruction on the slap defense
Oh,
because there's no basis
That's
for it.
new news. Then that should be out. Then that should be out. I agree with you, Judge.
I mean, if the instruction is not being
Slaps
given
out
on the
too.
understanding that it's essentially moot,
Yes.
Which I agree.
Which
I
it
think
is.
that's what happened with the slap defense as well. We found out after we went down that legal road, we found out that was moot as well.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
So
So
it's
you
moot.
want me to
So that's
deny
not
it or
coming in.
withdraw it? I'll do either one.
if you don't mind denying, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
okay, that's fine. I'll deny.
All right. So what
That's
just happened is they were
Instruction
fighting for an
28
instruction,
and 29.
an instruction that they can't get to because there's actual malice in this case, they're also not getting the anti-slap or the
All
slap.
right, next one I have is the
defense.
republication
That's interesting.
one.
All right, let's get to the republication instruction. I will try to explain. There's a lot happening.
Okay,
They're arguing jury instructions.
so I see both of them dueling paragraphs
speak
for
to
the
this, Your Honor.
This is the
republication.
republication. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I understand last time we spoke
This is
that
a
you
critical
added, you must
instruction.
determine whether any content that was added constitutes a republication. And you just would rather have just the 3 sentences as yours for republication. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
That didn't,
No,
well,
I
you
think
must
it's the
find
flip.
that she read, or you want to add that into it? I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how I'm reading it.
I think.
She's
I
asking if
think,
it's
and
either
I don't mean to
or,
Put words in their mouth. I think
or
we
all
want the
told.
whole thing at the top,
Right?
And they want either or.
and they just want the one sentence at the bottom.
So either
Okay,
or.
that's correct.
And Your Honor, we talk about not going backwards. We went
No,
over
I
this on
understand.
Friday. Your Honor said that on page 92 of the transcript, I don't have a problem with the republished jury instruction. I just think it has to be accurate with adding the language.
So-
And
Right.
that language was.
I'm going to end the live stream in a little bit, so I thought I would give my reflections on Amber Heard. Let's do this. I just don't want to do the jury instructions. They are very important because, as she said, that is how the jury convicts. Oh, I'm not convicts, but comes up with a verdict. So now, if you want to find this, it's Emily D. Baker. That is the link that I am using, as you can see here. Listen, on her direct examination, Amber Heard was crying, quote, crying her fake ass crocodile tears, as Oscar Montiel said, our friend of the show. She was saying, "Oh, my life is destroyed. I've lost everything, but I'm still filming Aquaman. And Johnny hit me. Johnny abused me. Johnny did this. Johnny did that. And he didn't do any of it. He absolutely did not do any of it. And I'm hoping that the jury sees that. If we had an afternoon session, like an actual session, I would have played a lot more for you. But again, I just don't see. I just don't see it as just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a problem with this very much because the lies just continue. They continue so bad, and her team's letting her do it. Then we get to the cross. And this is, I think, where Camille did a great job. Hicksville, Morgan Knight came in, and he said, not Morgan Tremaine, Morgan Knight came in, the manager and the owner of the place, and he said, there were no damages to the trailer, just a light fixture. She said, yeah, it was just a light fixture, but there were more damages. No. First off, she said, I don't know who that man was. I did not recognize him. I just don't know. Yes, I did hear him say this. I did hear him say that. How do you not recognize the man? How do you not know who that man is? You can't recall him being at testimony. You don't even know who the dude is, but you remember his testimony and you remember what he said. That's something that really doesn't make sense to me, if I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't recognize someone, I would say, ma'am, listen, I just don't understand. I don't know who you're talking about. So, yeah. And then she said, well, he wasn't there. So, no, he was. He said, and this was on the Get the Memo channel. Go ahead and subscribe to Get the Memo if you like politics and all that. And trials, because I'm going to start doing trials now. Gets me a lot of views. And I like it. It's fascinating. I've learned a lot of lawyer things. But he said, yeah, we were all by the campfire. We were all just talking. We started singing. Him and Jenna started singing. I was there watching it. I was talking to Mr. Depp, and then she grabbed him. He was cowering. He was afraid. He was recounting so much of what happened in that trailer claim. That her and Rocky Pennington made. Now, Rocky Pennington lied under oath as well, because she said, oh, there were lots of damages to the trailer. But he's saying, the owner of the trailer saying, I went the next day and all I saw was like the light fixtures. It was only $62 of worth of damages. Okay, well then that's not trashing the place at all. And then apparently he grabbed a woman's arm. She said, that's what happened. Well, that's not what he said. Well, he wasn't there. Oh, so you're calling him a liar under oath. That's your problem, Amber Heard, is you're calling lots of people liars. Like the police officers who did not see any injuries on your face. Oh, well, there were. Okay, are you calling them liars? Well, yeah. Okay, that's your problem. Because they're the ones who testified. Officer Sines, Hatlin, Gatlin. I think that's what their names. They're arguing that, or testifying that they did not see any injuries. They did not, and then the place was not destroyed. I wasn't walking on broken glass. I think a cop would notice that. I think that I think it was Dr. Curry who actually said, if there was an injury on a patient, would you assume that they are in danger? Yes. She said, sure. So she's trying to say that everyone are liars. Everybody. And then she had that thing with the photos. And she's like, well, you don't have the metadata. The jury doesn't need the metadata to see that they are the same photos. One's edited, one's not. They don't need that metadata. Speaking of metadata, your team, Amber Heard, hasn't submitted that metadata to let's go ahead and close this tab since I'm almost done. They haven't submitted that to Johnny Depp's team, right? So I think that creates a massive problem. And so I just that whole thing was just terrible. That whole testimony was, that cross-examination didn't do jack shit. As you heard Runkle from the Bailey say, listen, it did nothing at all. The jury didn't cry, just like Amber Heard. She didn't cry. And they weren't moved, and they were looking at Camille like, you go get it, girl. Go get it. That's where you have the jury. And if you have the jury there, I'm sorry, but no, you're wrong. And it's a problem. And she's a fucking liar. I hope she's an effing liar. I hope she gets hers. That she gets what she deserves. Yeah, I was fired from Aquaman. No, you weren't. Oh, it was Adam Waldman's statements that got me last time on Aquaman. No, it wasn't. Walter Hamada said, well, she had no chemistry. Catherine Arnold said, oh, she would make 100% more than what she's getting. No, she wouldn't. Maybe double. And Richard Marks came in as the expert and just tore her testimony apart. And he even said at the beginning, I'm more distinguished than that expert y'all had on Amber Heard's side. I'm better. That's what I took away. There's so much more I could say, but I just don't. I've said so much, and in the end, it doesn't matter because it's what that jury's gonna decide. And you just heard them arguing over jury instruction. Oh my God, what I am dying to see happens. There will not be a verdict tomorrow. I doubt that there would be a verdict tomorrow. There's too much evidence to go over. Unless the jury's already made up their minds, which they're not supposed to. But if they have, then maybe. Unless they've decided, hey, here's how you're going to split things up. But they don't know exactly what's going to be in evidence. Like that file that was corrupted. That I think Camille was like, look, it's a sacrifice we got to make. It's one, it's one thing. Fine. Whatever. You can't fix a corrupted file. Okay. So we'll see what happens. I thought Johnny Depp had more time. I'm not sure if they just didn't have anyone else. Personally, I would have had a body language expert come in, and because on TV that's what you had. and on YouTube. That's what you had on YouTube as well. So I would have had a body language expert come in and talk about Amber Heard's behavior. So yeah, because she's trashing real victims and making it more difficult for them. She's not a victim. Johnny Depp is the victim, and we all know that. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back tomorrow with more. We will be back with the closing arguments. I am going to be bored, but that's what's going to happen. It is 10 times a shorter stream than normal. I'm not going to let it go to 3 hours. There's so much else to say. I just can't get it out. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.